situation. So actually, we did a video about this situation. I just want to say this first and foremost. Man to man, I got to be honest. And I mean this with all disrespect but respect. You're a plague. And I'll tell you why you're a plague. Because when you go in raw in a woman, she's responsible. Absolutely, yes. But you have 7 kids that you don't want to take care of, that someone else is going to have to take care of. You are a plague financially. You're a plague emotionally, because these kids, someone's going to have to look after these kids. These kids are going to be hurt by your own action. So supplanting all the responsibility on a woman, she takes accountability. I agree. Those women have got to take accountability. If you had a conversation beforehand about you don't want no kids, you ain't trying to do this and all that, right? But the moment you go in raw, you are responsible not only for the union between you and that woman, but now between that kid. So now if that kid comes out and has got no father figure because you say, hey, I don't give 2 Fs, guess what happens? You might not give them 2 Fs, but now we have to be laden with this burden. Financially, we're gonna have to laden these people. They're gonna become kids and adults in society. And we know the stats already. How when it comes to these situations, what happens to these kids, and you're not giving no Fs. Listen, bro, I don't understand. If you don't give no Fs, why are you going in raw? Me personally, I don't get it, because you're affecting our whole society. So for me, I'm looking at you and I'm going, if you're saying you're a man is not just about I can pay my bills.
You gotta let him respond too. You gotta let him respond.
Yeah, sorry. Apologies. Yeah. Hey guys, and welcome to Little Blackbird 91. Last night I was up till late, and I've just woken up. Not gonna lie to you, I woke up about an hour ago. I was up till like 8-9 o'clock in the morning, and we're having conversations. I was on Anton Daniel's channel, and this gentleman, obviously the one that's obviously gone viral for having 7 baby mothers and kids, he was on Anton Daniel's stream. So we got to speak one-to-one, and it was alarmingly scary. But here's my thing. Part of me feels like he's either pretending that he doesn't care, or this situation doesn't really exist, or he's a clout chaser 101, right? With irresponsibility in his balls, right? Now, for someone to tell me that, and I even asked, I said, like, you grew up with your dad? He said, yeah, I grew up both my mom and dad, and they were married. And as soon as he said that, I'll play the clip and you'll see. As soon as he said that, I thought to myself, I think this guy might be trying to do too much. I think he might be clout chasing a little bit. And the reason being is that he's not a narcissist. Trust me, he's not a narcissist. A narcissist, this is narcissistic behavior. There's something about him that is actually there's something about him that is very calculated in the way that he's trying to pursue a point. If you listen to the way that he tries to put the blame on the women, it's not like how the men usually do it. It's not how the men usually do it, like trying to blame women with an emotional response. No. His is it's almost as if he's taken every single point about women taking accountability, and he's kind of like made sure he's stocked up on those questions, and then put his points across. So something's given me a little bit like, I don't know if you really have these kids. I don't know if you have these kids. I feel like you're trying to prove a point for manosphere or prove a point for man's rights. This doesn't give you actually have 7 kids. Yeah. Oh, Christy Million. Okay, is it? You didn't have the kids. Okay. It's not giving that he actually has these kids. Like when people don't care and they're manipulative and they are narcissistic, there's a way they go about it, you know. But this is, even the way he's answering, it doesn't give me that he's got these kids. Doesn't give me, not that because of course people don't care. We know that already, right? But it's odd the way he behaves. But anyway, listen, we're gonna break some of this stuff down, and then we're gonna go on to a conversation, later on as well. And I was on another live of Anton Daniels as well, and I spoke to the men about being accountable, and you're going to see how that plays out as well. So if you're new to this channel, you know how we do. If you're new to this channel, like it, share, subscribe, and you click on that bell button for the notification to uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals. Stay hydrated because the streets, they're kind of hot right now. All right, listen, let's get into this video. We're going to see what we're talking about here. Go for it, Cap. Sorry. Apologies.
I'm gone because this nigga a simp. Nigga, that might be your kids. Ain't got no blood. That man ain't got no blood.
He's not a simp. He's not a simp. We need that.
Now, notice something. I want you to notice something. As soon as Mr. Logic, who's the one in the bottom corner, starts calling me a simp, watch his face. Watch the gentleman's face on the right-hand side. Yeah, let's just watch his face. I love it, man. You know, when I spot certain things, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Watch. He's got a very
might be your kids. Ain't got no blood. That man ain't got no blood.
He's not a simp. He's not a simp. We need that.
No. I think it's that nigga kid.
Hold on, yo, wait. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. All right, Logic. Y'all gotta let him respond.
I understand everything you saying, bro. But the thing about it, the little motherfuckers don't even supposed to be here. That's it. Like anything that I told these women, I don't want to be. Hold on. When I told these women I don't want to be a father to these kids with you, don't expect nothing after that. I don't give a damn about nothing after that, bro. Nothing after that. So
I want to pause it there. Okay, so I told you guys, right, that originally when I heard this video, that I actually agreed with some of his points. That's why I said I don't think he's lying. I mean, that's why I think he's lying about this whole situation, because even here, he's going back into his script. And the script is to tell us that how can the woman expect, because it's not even logical, but it's logical. It's illogical, but it's logical, because I get what he's saying, right? How do women expect a man, because he's not talking about him. What he really means is he's talking about other deadbeat men out there. How can a woman expect a man, yeah, to look after the kid when he's told you he doesn't want no kids, and then you end up having a kid, and then you expect him to be there and support you emotionally, financially, and I actually agree with that. Why would you want to have a kid? Why would you? And I'm talking from accountability for both sides of the coin. As a woman, why would you play around, not let him strap up, or why would you not have you taking your pills to make sure, or got the coil or whatever you got, the rod, whatever it is, to actually protect yourself so you don't have a kid? Why would you not want to do that? Why would you not want to do that? Right? The guy didn't want the kid, doesn't want the child, is not trying to be there. Why would you want to have a kid with somebody like that? This is where we have to hold the women accountable too. Absolutely. And I said that on the live when we first did. I said, I actually get his points, because why are you dealing with people? Why are you not necessarily sleeping, but why are you allowing yourself to be impregnated by somebody, by taking a risk, by letting him go raw up in you, and then not pregnant with somebody you know that does not want to be, he hasn't got good quality father, he's not got no good quality to be a father. The characteristics of a man are not there. You know, it's giving degenerate. So where are you on your psychological line that you're dealing with a man like this? That's the point I actually get from him, right? I totally actually understand that point, and I agree with him 100%. If I'm addressing women, I have to talk to the women. This is what you need to be accountable for. Okay? All right? You need to be accountable for. When we talk to the men, yeah, when we talk to the men, then I have to talk to them about accountability. Why would you, knowing that you're not ready, go up raw in a girl? It doesn't make no sense. You have to be accountable for your life. See, she has to be accountable and you have to be accountable. You can't put all the blame on her. But I get his point, but you can't put all the blame on her because you went in raw and you weren't ready to be a father. Then you took the risk. Can't say she trapped you when you went in raw. It don't make sense. You can't go into you can't say someone trapped you. Oh, and you hear people say, and you hear guys say this, and I'm like, but did you go in raw? Yeah, but you know how. Don't say yeah, you know how it is. I don't want to hear that. You put yourself at risk doing that. Do you know what I'm saying? Then you have to be accountable for your life. Right? Then you have to be accountable for your life. So both women and men need to be accountable in this instance. Women should not be dealing with men. And listen, if you're going to have sex, that's your business. No one's, you know what I mean? From a Christian perspective, don't do it. But, you know, I understand not everyone's Christian. From your perspective, you're going to have sex, fine. But you as a woman got to protect yourself. Because you know that you're a child and more than likely it's going to be laden with you. As a man, you got to protect yourself because now you looking to have to leave. Okay, you're gonna have to leave the situation, and you don't want to be, you don't want to be looking like the deadbeat father. I know guys don't really necessarily. Most guys don't want to be a deadbeat father, but now you're becoming a deadbeat father because you weren't ready to be a father, and it's like, well, you went in raw. Now, when people tell me condoms rip, it's nonsense. Listen, let me be honest with you. Listen, I've been in a situation where the condom has ripped, but again, rarely has this ever happened. Most times it works. If I say most times, I'm talking about 90% of the time it works. Y'all know that condoms don't rip all the time like that. And if it does keep ripping like that, then you need to find another method that's going to protect you. This makes no sense. If you know the protection that you have doesn't really work, then you would change the protection you have. You know what I mean? You change the protection you have. I told you this happened to me. The condom ripped. I told the girl, listen, just in case, I don't know. I definitely not added to the condom, but the condom ripped. So just in case, we're going to have to get the plan B. She said, all right, cool. I paid for it. Done. I've done it in the past. It has happened. You know, we've all been there. We've been men. So I get it, right? I get it, you know. But at the same time, if she then told me that she wanted to have this kid, of course, I'd feel some type of way. Don't get it twisted. I have some type of way. But I also have to realize I'm responsible. I allowed myself to be trapped. It makes no sense just to put the blame on her. You're angry and resentful at her making a choice, taking away your power, but you had power in the scenario. That's the point I'm trying to make people aware of. Men, you have power in the scenario because the moment, okay, the moment, okay, you decided to go in, you are now responsible. Yep, it does happen. It does happen. I can guarantee it does happen. I'm telling you, right? It does happen because some women really do want kids. Some women are willing to take your seed and make you a father, unwillingly or not willingly. But the reality is that's life. And the second thing is you have power in the situation. You consented. This is my problem. You consented. Once you consented, you can't tell me, oh, she trapped me or, you know, she took. No. You consented the moment you entered. Did she force you? Did she force you? Whether she asked for you to wear a condom or not, did she force you? You consented at that point. Once you consented, you are responsible.
It can't make me feel bad. I don't feel responsible. I can plague the community, or the woman could have just got an abortion, or could have told me to put a condom on.
That's not even an option.
Listen to what he said. He said, listen to what he's saying now. The woman could have told me to put a condom on. Why didn't you put one on in the first place? Why would you, and especially when he labeled the women as bust down women. Apparently these are women that you keep having sex with or whatever, right? Friends with benefit almost in a sense, right? Well, first and foremost, it can't be friends with benefits because I don't know no friend that I know that's a girl that's cool that this would happen with. Because if I generally am friends with that girl and I'm friends with benefit, we have conversations. We know each other. We understand that, hey, look, there's usually a good relationship and rapport between you and the person that, you know what, we know we ain't trying to have no kid. This is just us trying to have a little bit of tinky time. You know what I'm saying? So for them there to be this quote unquote bust down, I don't know how you want to label it, whether it's whatever they want to label it as. If you know this girl is not trustworthy, why are you busting down in the street? That's a good point, Tora. You know, why busting down this shit? You know? So listen, I'm telling you, we need to start holding people accountable and start holding them accountable from a younger age because this is nonsense. This is nonsense. You can't. You're telling me, and the reason is because you don't have to hold the kid. You don't have to have the kid. You don't have to be responsible for the kid. But you're equally responsible for causing carnage in our society and creating the toxic cycle that you're birthing, that you're sitting in. Right? Tora said, yeah, he told her before. She said she couldn't have kids. He believed her like a fool, went raw, and she said she knew he was a guy and wouldn't be a deadbeat. Trap set and activated. And this is why we need to have real conversations. See, the conversation like this needs to be spoken of in a particular way where it's not, listen, there are women out there. What should be is a warning. Mandem, there are women out there that are willing to have your kids X you out the situation and become a single mother if purpose, or even they wouldn't mind making you a father and having you in their life. There are women out there trapping you. Do you know why we know this? Because there are men out there trapping women the same way. So we know, right? We know that there are both sides. People are trying to trap people. So guess what you have to do? You have to protect yourself as a man. If you don't lock your doors and someone breaks into your house, it's unfortunate. In this modern day and age, you can't leave the door unopened. So you have to be responsible for both man and woman. But this definitely actually happens. What Tori's talking about actually happens to men. There are women out there that will trap you. There are women out there that think that having a child of you will keep you there. So we have to warn men about this behavior so that they can be responsible. Absolute point. Yes, has to happen. You have to have a conversation about that, man. You have to have a conversation about that. Absolutely. You have to have it. Oh yeah, I'll post a video link. Let me get the video link for you guys so you can actually watch it as well. Link to the video. Okay, cool. Let's option a bit more.
That's not been an option in a lot of states.
Huh?
That's not even an option in a lot of states. I think you live in Texas, right?
Yeah.
Well, he don't want to talk about where he live at. He don't want to talk about where he live at. Let's leave that out of it.
Okay, well, okay, but I'm just saying, if you live in a state where that's illegal, and it's illegal in a lot of southern states, then it's not easy and accessible. And if you're messing with wait, hold on. Y'all at my work, I gotta go soon. But I'll just say this, that I agree with Luke.
Go ahead, big dog. Go ahead and respond.
But what I'm saying is, they got condoms in every state. When the last time you told a nigga to put a condom on?
I ask for commitment in some type of form. I don't just be getting bust down by people, random people. Like, if I don't see a future with you and you're not a quality man that I can see, then
they ain't gotta be random. It could be a dude you talking to.
No, I don't. If we're not committed, then you're not gonna get anything from me.
Look, the only commitment is marriage. So if you single, that's not a real commitment. If you single,
to you, but you out of
you see that the fact that he's do you see that what he's saying? The fact it's giving, he's almost giving the reverse role of manosphere. So what now he's talking about is, that's why I said he's not a narcissist. Like just deep what he's trying to say to you, right? He's not a narcissist, right? Listen to him. He's playing a role. I genuinely believe he's playing a role, because now his argument is, when's the last time you put on a condom? She hasn't said it. She always say, I look for commitment. What's a commitment is? A commitment is a marriage. Why is he fighting for that particular aspect? Why is he fighting for that particular aspect? Why is he fighting for this particular aspect where he's talking about, the only commitment is marriage? Because the reality is he's playing a role. And what he's trying to, and this is basically, he's become a character, right? He's become a character, and his points are aligning with manosphere and red pill and what they talk about women and talk about, accountability. It's aligning with that particular aspect. This is why when I started hearing, I was like, this sounds so weird, because it's like your points you're making are not even about defending yourself, really. It's more about you expecting women to take accountability as a whole, as a general. Yeah. You playing a character in a role. You playing a character in a role because you're trying to put up points now that got nothing to do with you personally. Okay, I see you.
All people, you out of all people saying it, it's just like, you don't even, you don't want kids, but you still do things knowing you can make a child out of it. So you go into the tent knowing you're going to kill your seeds. You go into the tent hoping somebody kill your seeds. You don't have no value on your seeds. You don't have no value on yourself or your legacy or anything. Well, at this point, what legacy? Because you're leaving behind broken families and you're continuing the cycle, and you're not protecting yourself. So you want women to protect themselves. You want to ask me about using condoms. Where's yours? Where's yours? You're doing it with women that you don't see no type of commitment with. You don't even like them. You see them as bust downs. And so why don't you ask yourself that question? Why can't you just go ahead, if you know you don't want children and you want these women to go to basically the graveyard clinic?
Hey, B.
For
Taylor,
your seeds.
before I had to go,
my biggest issue with this situation is, our biggest issue on this issue is that deep it, yeah, it's cheaper for you to have a box of condoms than it is for you to have a plan B or abortion, you know. It's actually cheaper. It's actually cheaper to do that. Do you get what I'm saying? It's actually cheaper to buy a box of condoms than it is for you to go and do plan B or particularly an abortion. It's actually easier. So logically, how does it make sense to keep going and roaring these women and then talk about how I didn't want kids, so this is why, but it happens 7 times potentially and more. And then he tells us he's paid for even more plan Bs and abortions in the past. So you've got a pattern of reckless behavior. Interesting. Yeah, she gave that to me. It's true.
Yeah, I'm
this
about to go
7 out of 2. This is 7 out of 200. So I have a 96.5% rate of not getting bitches pregnant because I was using condoms. So you taking that 3.5% and telling me just because they got a baby that I ain't using protection. Yeah, I'm protecting myself. That's an A- in life when it comes to not getting bitches pregnant. That's all I gotta say.
You're a comedian.
You see these points that he's making here. Like it's very intelligent, but it's using comedic value. So it's almost as if he's playing dumb. It's a smart person playing dumb. He's even calculating how much of a percentage it is as well in regards to how many women he's actually slept with, and that tells me everything I need to know. He's playing a role. He's playing a role. That tells me everything I need to know. He's playing a role. I don't believe his story. I don't believe his story. Because the points he's trying to make are not about it's not about him, and this is what I'm trying to say. Like that's why I can't believe this situation is him. I can't believe the situation is him. There's nothing emotionally attached to his arguments that scream about his actual situation. And so for me, I'm listening to him and I can't buy his story. And also as well, him pointing out the fact that, you know, I've slept with 200 women, I've slept with 200 women and, I've always I'm basically saying I've always put a condom on. That's what happens. It's only 8 times. It makes no sense. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. So you telling me you had 8 out of 200 go wrong? No. At what point will you take accountability then for the fact that after you had the first one, the situation will happen? The second one's gonna have a situation. Okay, you've got 2 now. How are you gonna protect yourself? How are you gonna protect yourself? There's a pattern of behavior here now. There's a pattern of behavior here now. Right? I'm not saying about having many kids. It's not about even having multiple baby mothers. There are several actors, there's several celebrities and higher status people who have multiple baby mothers, right? But when you listen to them, how they speak about the situation, they're not advocating for accountability on the other party. They normally come out and say, well, I can do whatever I want. I've got the money to pay for this, so it is what it is. When you hear Nick Cannon, you don't hear Nick Cannon putting accountability on the woman. When you hear Little Baby, you don't hear Little Baby talking about the accountability of the woman. It's very rare you hear the man having several baby mothers putting accountability on the woman. I don't know any. And so the fact that he's putting accountability on the woman is telling me he is playing a game. And he's trying to prove a point. But unfortunately, it's getting lost in translation a little bit.
Comedian. Thank you, Anton, for having me.
Thank you. Final thoughts, Little Black Book.
I was going to say, because I've kind of watched it from behind the scenes, and the comedic aspects are hiding what you truly actually feel. I'd actually wish you'd actually tell us how you really feel, because you're not telling us how you really feel. Like when we talk about psychology of how people behave, your jokes are covering what you really feel. I'd wish you'd come out and tell us how you really feel, because the jokes and everything else like that are a protective defense mechanism. I'd love to know what you really feel, because something for you to create life, regardless of whoever's fault it is, for you to create life on 7 different occasions and then put sole blame on someone else and not be looking at what your contribution is here and how this affects not only now, but generationally, okay? How this affects us as a generation, as Black people, is to say you're trying to distance yourself from the consequences of your own actions. But the reality is every man has to face themselves eventually. So the jokes and everything, I hear it. Listen, you got to do what you got to do to make yourself get past it. But I would say that I would love for you to come to the realist aspect and actually face what is truth about you. Right now, you're saying about having a protection, whether you've slept with 200 women or whatever. Listen, bravo, we appreciate that. Listen, you get a lot of women. I'm not saying that you don't. What I'm saying to you is that you're negating the consequences of your actions that we talk about. As we talk about on the channel, Anton talks about a lot of this same stuff, right? How we have a community, we're trying to build it. You are purposely tearing it down with this behavior, because these kids got no father figures, and we know how important father figures are. And I would even go as far as to ask you, sir, you had a father in your life?
How much? Yeah, I do. I got both parents. But look, in a married. So
listen. This one I knew he was playing a game. Listen to what he said. Listen to what I said, right? Listen to what I said. I asked him a question about whether he has a father in his life, right? And look, watch his response, right? Just listen to the response. Ask you, sir, you had a father in your life?
How much? Yeah, I do. I got both parents. But look, in a married. So how?
I'm not cussing you. I'm saying, but how? Okay. So deep, yeah. As soon as I asked him, do you have a father in your life? Now, I wasn't even going to ask if they were married or whatever. I was more going to ask about how's your relationship with your father, right? But before I could even ask that question, he added on and said, yeah, I have both mother and father, man, and they married as well. Because what he wants to do, and that's what I said about if you deep it, he's arguing another point. What he wants to prove here is, I didn't come from a single parent home. So before, I haven't even said that. I wasn't even going to say that. I was just going to say, how's the relationship with your father? But he's already anticipating. When someone's already anticipating like that with a point and they're trying to get ahead of you, trust me, they're already playing a game, man. They really are playing a game. So then he immediately covers it up by saying, and they married as well. So don't think that came from a dysfunctional background and the way that I'm thinking. I just don't care. That don't make no sense. If you didn't come from a dysfunctional background, you gonna care. You gonna care. You gonna care.
Well, you gotta let him respond. You gotta let him give his final,
because I gotta go a little bit.
You gotta go.
Apologize. Sorry about Captain.
What percentage do you think I'm affecting the community? What percentage am I affecting the community?
Now that question there, I didn't deep it at first what he really was trying to ask me, because I think where he's trying to go with it is when he's asking me what's the percentage of how much he's affecting the community. What he's going to prove the point of saying is, and that's why the point being then, that's what we're saying. That's if I give him let's say I give him 10%, you're affecting the community 10%. He'd be like, well, then that's why ladies can't then ask the ladies then if they can't then why do they keep going to these type of men then? If we know that they affect the community that much, I believe his next point is going there. But I didn't realize. I just said I didn't know how much it is. I don't know how much it's affecting the community per se. But if every other person thinks the way you do, we got a problem in our community. Do you know what I mean? So, I think he was really trying to take it back somewhere. Do you know what I mean? I can't say a percentage, but I'm saying to you, if enough people have your mindset, it takes one, but there's other people doing the same thing. becomes a problem. But go on, sir. Sorry.
I'm gonna tell you this. The jokes is for, and I'm not a comedian.
Listen to this point. Listen to this point that he says. Listen to this point that he says.
This is just my personality, bro. You feel me? The jokes is to antagonize motherfuckers for me making my decision about my life. Now, if a woman go get an abortion, I'm not about to go drill her ass, bro. I'm not about to go drill her because she know she wasn't ready for that child. I can't force a woman to get an abortion, bro. Yeah, it happened 7 times, bro. We fuck up in life. We change. We do. Over a 6-year period. From 17 to like fucking 24, or 25 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? We fuck up, bro. We really do. It's just my situation has been broadcasted to the world. But you might have a homeboy not telling you he got some certain shit that's going on in his life that I have because he know you gonna get on his ass. So you.
That's the point he's arguing. That's actually the part that he's arguing. That part there is what he's arguing. If you notice, so that I'm only being funny. I'm trying to antagonize certain people because that's the point he's actually arguing. You get me? Right? That's the point he's arguing. And the thing is, I would have never known this if he hadn't done a TikTok because the women didn't come forward. I didn't know he had this situation until we had his TikTok because he brought it forward. So that's why I said that. Oh, you playing a role, sir. I started deepening it towards the end. I was like, oh no, he's playing a role. He's playing a role. No, he's playing a role. He ain't trying to do. This is what him trying to. Oh, he's trying to advocate for men's rights when it comes to women. He's advocating for men's rights when it comes to having children, right? Because I do hear this as men. I do hear some of the conversations, and I do understand their frustrations, right? That at points in time where you have a child with someone, and let's say you sleep with somebody, and she ends up wanting to keep the kid, and you're like, I don't want to keep the kid. I don't want to be a father, and then she's like, well, I want to keep the kid. I want to keep the kid. So I get it. There are some situations like that where that really does happen. We can't deny that. Is that everybody's situation? No. Some of you are just reckless, sleeping with a gal, and you don't put no onus on responsibility on yourself. It's a risk we take.
You don't know the people around you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Completely, like really completely. So the jokes is just to fuck with people that's like fucking with me about decisions I made that I'm comfortable with, bro. I'm comfortable with this decision, bro. But it's cool to see black men trying to, you know what I'm saying, hold me accountable. I fuck with that, bro. You a good man, but we not the same man. In my world, I'm a good man. In my world, I have morals and standards. It's just not yours, bro. You feel me? But you gotta keep doing what you got.
We gotta go, little black book. We gotta go.
Cool. Sorry.
I promise y'all.
Thank you.
I'm gonna work behind the scenes to make sure that I get it.
There's almost too much respect coming from him. There's too much respect coming from him. Yeah, there's almost too much respect. Like when I came on the panel, my first line to him was, he's a plague. Do you know what I mean? My first line I said to him was like, you're a plague to this community. And he didn't get angst like that. But when the women got at him, I saw the reaction. I said, oh, this guy playing. And then at the end, he's saying, I appreciate a black man holding another black man accountable. I'm like, you trying to keep the black man in good stead? No, sir. I see you. I now see you. So you want to keep the black man in good stead because he's holding you accountable. But when the women were coming at you, they were a problem when they came at you. And I started saying, okay, I get it. You have a goal in mind, sir. You have a goal in mind. You think you're clever. Okay. You think you're clever. I see you. Okay. Because I came at you hot. I mean, when I came in first, I dropped to the bar. You are a plague to our community. Economically, you're a plague. You're a plague in terms of society, how these kids going to grow up. We know the stats. And I said, I came in hot. I came in hotter than B. Taylor and Ogo Island. But okay. I said, okay. You definitely playing a little game. But you say, you know, I respect the fact that you as black men are holding me accountable and you're a good man. I said, okay. All right. Okay. No, anyway. All right, cool. So yeah, that was a conversation that we had there. Now that I was on a panel later on about the same topic. It was on Anton's again, but late night session. Late night session, and it was quite interesting to say the least. Let me share this tab. So we got to this point. I hope I've got the right point. Is this? Let me see if I got the right point. That's how
wait, dark.
Okay. Oh man, I hope I get the. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it where I was. Okay, hold on. Let's see. 256. Okay, yeah. I'll give you the first part of it, and then hopefully I can get the part where I actually we had a long conversation that day, man. It was wild. I can't lie to you. Here we go. I think this is part of the conversation we're talking about. Let's see.
They always going, especially in the black community, they're gonna have a greater bond with their mom. Okay, dad, he's there. Even if he's there, like if you got a father that's like a traditional man that go out and work and pay the bills and shit, you're not having no tender moments with that nigga. That nigga comes home, house to rest. He puts his fucking feet up. He don't want to be bothered because he done worked all fucking day. He is not, you and that kid are not having no tender moments. That's not the way human beings have interacted. It's only recently that women are trying to fucking pass the buck to the men to get the men to do their job and the woman's job too. That's real shit.
That's not true. Now, I responded to him as well, so don't worry. But this is precisely the nonsense I'm talking about. But a lot of times what happens, hey, just get X, love and appreciation, man. Shout out, just as I didn't see Just Get some time. I hope you're still doing your content. Some good content you did back in the day. No, and this is something that's really important as well, because you're gonna. If I wish I can watch this whole way through, but it's a very long video, right? They actually end up agreeing with me without actually realizing they're agreeing with me, right? They wanted to advocate that a man's role, a father's role, is solely based around the teaching a boy how to be responsible and to be a true man of your word, right? Okay, cool, and to pay the bills. And this issue is what's causing a lot of, we speak about the guy that has 7 baby mothers and 7 kids. It's birthed when we have father figures. Number one, men not choosing correctly in terms of the type of woman they choose and marry. Number two, this happens when you choose somebody who's a 3 or 4, if you want to call it that, or a bust down, if you want to call it that. This happens when you as a father figure also, too, you are not emotionally available. When you're not emotionally available, you leave your kids, especially sons, end up becoming emotionally devoid. And when I say devoid, meaning they avoid emotions. And what happens is, people who avoid emotions can be very callous and very cold about the way they maneuver. And they find it very hard to make attachments very well because they feel like they don't need anybody because they don't want to be disappointed, right? So this is psychology. And what's frustrating for me, I think, in the community is this information is actually out there. This is not pseudo-psychology. This is psychology, which they actually agree with because they keep saying that men are important in children's lives, but then really want to then spin it back around to now being about the fact that what's important in this instance, okay, what's important, sorry, I linked for the video. What's important in this particular instance now is the fact that what's now important in this particular instance now is the fact that you have provided, but that kid needs more. And so I went on to ask them about, do you guys have fathers or whatever? And they said, yeah, we have fathers, whatever. And I said, fantastic, you have fathers. So you know how it feels, right? If you were disappointed, if your father didn't come to your ball game or your your soccer game or American football game or whatever, you know how disappointment feels. Disappointment is an emotion, guys. And so a lot of these guys have staked their claim on provision being solely financial and not realizing the emotional impact that they have on their kids. But let's just play on a little bit more and you'll see what I'm saying. You're saying it's not true.
Yo,
It's
I'm
not.
gonna be
Okay.
start.
Coming
It's
from even
true to an
it's not.
it's true.
Let me tell you why it's not true.
extent,
Because
though.
coming
It's true to an
historically
extent.
from a biblical point of view, that's not true. Because even I'm coming from a biblical standpoint, right? When I look at the men in the Bible, they spent time with their sons. And when they spent time with their sons, they would pass on what they had learned to those sons. So you telling me that a father does work and comes home and that's all he does, he doesn't actually emotionally invest in that child, is false. Now, what I say to you is, hold on.
Let me address what you just said.
Hold on.
Let me address what you just said.
Oh, let me finish the point.
Man, I just said. I'm telling.
So what I'm saying is this, right? We have gone through a time period, especially coming from, let's say, from the 1900s, where we've come from a place of war. Y'all have even gone through Jim Crow and stuff like that as well. What you don't realize is in those times, it's about survival. In survival mode, we've got no luxury to deal with the emotional concepts when it comes to family, because you just got to survive. We're now coming on the tail end of that particular process of time. And what we're seeing is when you come into a place of luxury, when you get to be able to do more than just survive, what comes into play is you have to work on the emotional aspect. You're coming from a place of survival. Survival means just survive. When you're thriving, you're going to have to work on the emotional, the mental, the spiritual. You have to work on those aspects. You can't just rely on, say, I provide finances and that's it. This is why we have an epidemic right now between black people, because our only thing about leadership is I earn money. Well, when they earn money like you, they think they're leaders too. Because you've taught them, not you specifically, we have taught them through other men that leadership is solely money. Well, when they earn money, they now think they're leaders. If you were to actually, hold on, I'm with my last point. If we were to teach them that, if we were to, I'm going to land it. It's going to land in your head in a minute if you don't keep quiet. Listen, now, if you were to understand something, right, that this point,
you ain't got
leadership is yet, more, leadership has to be more than just provision, because like I said, our counterparts now are doing the same thing we're doing financially. So you have to look at the mental, you have to look at the emotional aspects, you have to look at the spiritual, because leadership inquires all aspects when we talk about provision. Without it, your leadership is limited and stunted in growth.
Okay.
Sorry about if I said something.
First of all, you're wrong.
Now, before he goes again, so what I was trying to get them to understand, and I totally understand, because at first it's very difficult for men to really deep this aspect, because a lot of them didn't have this emotional care from their fathers. A lot of them have been detached from their fathers, but they will honor their fathers because, again, the world will reward men for being financial providers and nothing else. So if you don't do anything else but you provide, who can tell you something? This is why Nick Cannon gets away with all the stuff that he gets away with, when he's having multiple baby mothers, but he has money. So the argument becomes, well, he has money, so he's after looking. But they don't realize that actually you have to invest in these kids, and you spending time with them is part of the emotional investment. You being involved in their life when they want to go, you take them to a ball game. And you take them to a ball game, or you take them to their favorite cinema film or whatever. Those moments where you spend time with a kid is emotional investment. There are too many men who, and we talk about this as well, and this is what frustrates me, and I didn't get to make the point because I forgot it at the time because the argument had gone away. But we talk about black men and their suicidal rates, but then don't talk about the fact that what leads up to that point. It's not women. It's not because they're in single mother homes. It's because of oftentimes how we deal with our emotions and not being able to process those emotions, and not being able to understand the emotions, and not being able to express the emotions. That's where our black male suicide rate rises. So and they would agree with me, the black male suicide rate is high. If it's high, why is it high? My issue with these conversations oftentimes is we're not talking about the why. We're talking about how we can blame women for something. And I'm looking at you going, well, then how do you change it? You first have to look at you first. If you're telling me there are too many quote unquote hoes out there, why are you fishing in a pond of a woman of hoes? I don't get it. You know what I mean? Why are we fishing it? And the reason why I hold men accountable so much is because I'm a man. So first and foremost, let me deal with my own first and preach what I'm talking about and live what I'm talking about. And then we can deal with the women. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so if I'm in a panel of other men, I'm going to talk to the men. So these guys were battling back and forth with me because they wanted to hold women accountable. I was like, no, but let's deal with us first. Let's deal with us first. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are supposed to be the lead. Then let's lead. Let's hold ourselves accountable. I'm not saying that women don't do things that are mad. We can talk about them too. I believe we can hold them both accountable. I've got no problem with that. You know, but let's not forget ourselves and negate ourselves. And a lot of the issues you're talking about are solved with good, strong black male leadership. So again, it's not about saying women can't be held accountable. I will still hold women accountable. Y'all see me on the channel. Sometimes we tussle. But the reality is, if I'm talking about men being leaders, which I believe they are, then I have to deal from that perspective. That leadership, when things are happening underneath you, you don't start blaming the people that are following you. You blame the leadership. That's why the manager gets fired. You know?
Wrong. Okay. Number one, when you're talking about the Bible sense, you're talking about back in the day when men worked in a fucking in a garden or a fucking field or some shit. Back then,
no, he's not. No, he's not angry, man.
Hold on, come, bro.
Why are you misquoting the Bible like that, bro?
Bro, come on.
Yo, let the man talk, Bridget. Let the man talk, yo. Let the man talk. Come on.
Come on, bro. First of all, look, I get it. I get y'all want to wave the feminist flag, but can I talk for the men? Appreciate it. So, first of all of that shit.
And this is very a really interesting tactic that when men when men start talking about I want to talk for the men, instantly anybody has an opposing view as being feminist. But this is not me about being feminist. If anything, I'm trying to say we have more power than you're almost sound as if you don't have no power in the society. That's why we're losing, because you sound as if you have no power to change anything. You know, and I had to start with my own mindset first. And I had some conversation with some of the guys behind the scenes, and I said, listen, look, I had to stop complaining, saying, where are the men on my channel? And said, no, I need to be accountable. What will bring these men in? Okay, we need to have more conversations amongst men. That means it might take a little while, but I need to have more men. I need to have more conversation with men. I need to talk from more of their perspective. I got to be accountable myself and say, okay, I got to change some things so I can bring some more men to this platform. Beautiful, right? Now, when I get those men, I have to think to myself, oh, it's only 5 men. What can they do? No. If you start thinking small, that it won't change anything, it won't change anything. I have to think that I've got 5 men. Those 5 men can do something. I have to think that even if I have 5 men, those 5 men know another 5 men. That's 25. Right? And if 25 know 5, that's 125. If it's 125 know 5. Don't ask me how much that is. That's like 600 or something, isn't it? All right. So, you know, it's understanding that I got to start from me, you know, and so when he's talking about obviously like saying, okay, that men went to the field, he's absolutely right. Factually, men did go to the field, men did have farm, men did do agriculture, men did all that stuff. And yes, the kids would join them, but it doesn't disprove my point. Young boys would join their father and have father-son time. That's precisely what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So you're proving my point by saying, yes, they had a different time of thing because men would then, men would then go to the field, and it's biblical, yes, but it's old because we go to that factory now. Yeah, but no, you're not answering my point. What I'm talking about is time. Time.
What you talking about? Back during those times, all the way up until the 1900s, yeah, the kid is going to be around his father because he went out there and did the work with his father, whether he was a shepherd, whether he was a fucking sharecropper or whatever, right? But all of that shit changed in the Industrial Revolution when men had to go out to a job and work. And then the kids are no longer around the father like that, right? Now the relationship between fathers and sons, it changed. Now, when you're talking about, oh, it's, you know, the emotional part and all that, that's the problem with the children now, is they're too much in their goddamn emotions. And the reason why they're too much in their fucking emotions is because we've allowed this feminist fucking rhetoric to infiltrate the fucking boys. And this is why you see these women talking about where the real men. Now,
the point, now what's really interesting about this is he makes up a point saying the good women, okay, are the ones who are teaching their children how to behave. Okay, let's go with that rhetoric. Let's say it is good women or good mothers who are the ones who are responsible for the rearing up of these kids. Okay. So if that hasn't changed, if women are still looking after kids, and women are still laden with the burden of having kids, what's really changed? Women have always been women. You know what I mean? Women have always been women. Feminism didn't teach women how to be emotional. No. Let's follow his line of thinking appropriately. So women, okay, have always been in a place of looking after the kids. Okay. They're the ones that are responsible for rearing up these kids in a particular way. Okay. So now what happens is that feminism has come in. Okay. And women have now taught their children how to be more emotional. If women's job was always to nurture, how does feminism change that? I'm now deep in the point. Like, if feminism comes in, how does that change them being emotional when women are, quote unquote, emotional already? So what would feminism do to make them more emotional? When women are rearing, when men are going to work and women are rearing the children like they did beforehand anyway. Right? Because between biblical time and the Industrial Revolution is a couple hundred years, a couple thousand at that point. You know, between the Bible and Industrial Revolution, we have a couple thousand years. So in between that time, so we're saying that that in between that time, women didn't. There was no change for women. So solely it was just feminism that changed them. Feminism is a buzzword for a lot of people. That's the problem. It's a buzzword. They don't really know what it is. They don't even know there's waves when it comes to feminism. I don't agree with every feminist things, you know, but there's waves to it. Yes, it's absolutely true. Feminism is the absence of male male presence and male good presence as well. Not just male presence, male good presence. And we don't train up because, like I said, we come from a place where, you know, knowledge abounds. When women get into education and knowledge abounds and people are fighting for their equality based on the fact that they have more power in the society, things are going to have to change.
As far as you saying that men think that just because they're making money, they leaders, that's bullshit when it comes to the black community. Because most of the damn men only make about $40,000 a year. And half of them don't even want to do the work to make that goddamn money. So no, it's not the fact. It's not the fact that, number one, if you had black men that made more money than that to provide for their children, number one, you wouldn't have a lot of the problems you have in the black community because those children would have opportunity. You understand what I'm saying? So no, it's not about emotions. It's fine for a dude to get in touch with his emotions and all of that shit. But overdoing that shit is why we're where we're at right now. That's why you got to run around here acting like women right now. Because guess what? You disagree with the dude with the 7 kids, right? His whole attitude is, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to do what I want. It's my life and my choice. That is directly from fucking feminism. Because feminism does not preach responsibility. Okay, it's old school men that preach responsibility. The reason why I wouldn't do what that nigga did is because I was raised around men who acted like men, and we didn't have no tender moments. But what they did teach me was responsibility. They did teach me work ethic. So no, you're incorrect, sir. I'm sorry, you're incorrect.
How do you prove my point by using what I was saying? Like, you proved my point. The point about we made similar points because you're talking about leadership, and I agreed with you. So I actually agree with you. But what I'm trying to get you to focus on is, first and foremost, I can ask every man in this panel: has everyone got dads here? Has no one else got dads here? Has everyone got dads here?
Yeah.
Right. Everyone got dads here, right? You appreciate the time that he spends with you, right? The time that he
My
spent.
dad spent very little time with me. I don't get your
every
point.
single day.
Go ahead.
So little
My
time. Said,
dad was
see what
out.
he said. See what the guy said. My dad spent very little time with me. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. That's precisely what we're talking about. That's why we're here in the first place. Because we believe the emotional work and load to be from the women. It's not. It's from the men. That's why I spoke about the Bible and said that young men would spend time with the men, even if it was in the field. They would spend time with their fathers. Okay, and even some of the daughters would actually. We see that with Rebecca. We see that with Rachel and Leah. Rachel and Leah were also on the in the field. That's how Jacob actually saw Rachel, because Rachel was out here feeding the camel. So when Rachel's out in the field, listen, so the work thing has always been, women have pretty much always worked, like it's in different ways, right? You know, the farm or the agriculture was a family business. Everybody would pull their weight. So everyone was doing some work. Work hasn't changed. But what was happening is, again, first and foremost, that, again, the spending of time with the father is so paramount, especially for young men, because they are cultural shifters and changers. They are leaders in that culture. So if they are strong, wise, intelligent, and can hold their emotions in check, they begin to lead the culture in an appropriate manner and way. Right? So now we've got a situation where I'm saying about the child needs to spend time, right, with the father in order to have an emotional connection. This is also emotional work. This is also emotional work. When you are spending time with that kid and you are listening, paying attention, you know, having conversations, this is emotional work. And the fact that some of them said, I didn't have much time with my father, that's precisely why we're here. That's precisely why we're in this rut right now. This is also precisely why when rich kids go wild, why they go wild. Because time with parents cannot be negated. It cannot be taken away and thought of as long as I paid for your life, and as long as I took care of you, or put a roof over your head, as long as I put food in your belly, and as long as you got a place to sleep, you're good. No. We're no longer fighting wars at this particular moment. Most of us don't go to war. We have soldiers for that. Most of you don't go to war. We're not in a society that goes to war every single day. We go to our normal jobs. We're in a place of luxury where we don't have to think about fighting and run away from dinosaurs. You have time to deal with your emotions. And so since we're not in survival mode no more, you actually have to take care of your emotions. That's why the black male suicide rate is so high, because we're not taking care of our emotions and the way we process them. That's why we're in the position we're in.
Always on his grind.
Just admit you're wrong, man. Stop trying to prove your point.
You're wrong, dude. Yeah,
This is proving my point.
I don't think he was wrong. I want to
This
go
is
after
proving
you.
my point. Listen to me.
Here's the thing.
Hold on. Let me just say this.
Yeah, give him the shovel.
This is my point, because where Angerman took it, he took it straight. First of all, he took it straight to the extreme of, that's why we have feminism. I'm saying to you, no, an actual responsible man will teach a man how to emotionally regulate, which means knowing how to express, knowing how to process, and knowing how also to understand one's feelings. Without that, you get the men that lose control in society.
But
what you're seeing with that guy there is what emotional irregulation.
Dark arts. This is the part you're missing.
Okay.
I get what you're saying, but this is what you're missing in what I'm saying. Okay. The traditional family, right?
Yes, sir.
You have a division of labor. The reason why you didn't have to have tender moments or any of that stuff with your pops is because you got all of that from your mother.
Oh, no. See, this is the part that he missed. I didn't say nothing about the father situation. Y'all said that. As for me, I know the deficit that I felt with not having a father figure, always emotionally present, right? Because of course he's working hard. He's got his own situations, right? He's got his own thing he's trying to work out. He's trying to financially provide and put food on the table and food in my belly and clothes my back. I'm saying personally, I know the deficit, and I know you know the deficit. Because I know that you felt some disappointment when your father couldn't come and see you, or your father couldn't come and do this, or your father couldn't do that. No matter how much your mother does, She can never replace your father. And that disappointment doesn't go. We can displace it. We can try and rationalize it. But rationalization is a defense mechanism. It's what allows us to keep moving, even though we're still sore. So it doesn't change the fact. I'm talking about thriving now. I'm not talking about survival mode. You know, we can do a whole lot of things that make us survive, and we can continue through life. And it looks like we're thriving. We're not. Right? That's why we have, again, I put it again, such a high black male suicide rate. It's because we are no longer in survival mode. You're not running from dinosaurs. You're not running into war. Okay, you're not running into things. You actually have to deal with your emotions. And when you don't deal with it, right, we have trouble. And so a father now has to spend time being emotionally invested in his child. Simple things like, I remember the few times, and I'll go for walks with my dad and we'll have a conversation. And I told you, look, just even those walks, I remember most of the conversation with my father. It comes back to me and I'm like, oh, he said that. Oh, he says that. Do you know what's funny now? Do you know what's really funny now? The interesting thing is now, and I think, of course, over time you learn and you soften and you get wiser. Now, when I go like a week without talking to my dad, now he'll call me, hey, you haven't called me, coach. Yeah, you haven't called your dad. Hey. You haven't called me to see how I'm doing and check on me. What you asked me to do is emotional work. Right? Because now he's getting it. Do you see? At the time when he was younger, trying to make it work, I understand he was surviving, trying to make money, and it was a racist world. There was a whole bunch of things going on. He come from Africa, Ghana, to here. I get it. What I'm saying, though, is even he realized as he got old, oh, you don't give me a call. You don't see how I'm doing. Why? Because you now realize emotional work is most important. Me sending you money is all cool, but what you really want is for me to have a discussion with you and conversation with you. Time spent, which is the emotional work I'm talking about. And most parents, if not all, who didn't give enough emotional work when they were younger, when they get older, they realize, hey, son, why don't you call me? You know, daughter, why don't you see me? You haven't seen me for a little while. Do you know why they get that? Because they suddenly realize what's most important isn't money. What they suddenly realize is time. Now, I'm not saying that money isn't important. What I'm saying to you is that time spent is equally as important, because time cannot be what? Bought. I cannot get back time. And so we have to realize that the time spent, the emotional aspect that being spent, okay, is so quintessential. It's quintessential. It's needed. And our parents realize this when they get older. Like, oh man, working all that hard time, you know, I should spend a bit more time with the kids, you know, and just, you know, many dads and mums now are calling their children now, trying to have conversations. Oh, how are you doing? You okay? How are you doing? Yeah, I haven't heard from you in a little while. Oh, you haven't come to see me. Like, you know, why? Because you realize emotional connection is very important. So many people will talk the big talk now, but when they get older, they're going to realize this. Not only that, Empress, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you now. I hear you. And this is what I'm saying. Like, you know, and this is what I'm saying. Like, I was even listening to Will Smith's Will. And, you know, when his father was almost passing, yeah, Will went and saw him. And he appreciated that fact. Now, he might not have said it because too much pride was in his spirit, but Will saw him every single day he could. Right? So, listen, a lot of guys will say what they will say now, and then when they get older, and they wonder why the kids are not so close to them, and they realize that I didn't emotionally invest in that child. Oh, but I paid for your bill, the school fees. Oh, but I paid for your roof over your head. But I did this emotion. But none of it was emotional. It was transactional. So I hear this term as well now. Angry Man said there, I don't have to like you. You don't have to like me as a parent. I said, wait, what? I don't have to like you. Why would I not like you? Why would I not like you? If you see, this is my problem with things. When we start making these kind of statements, or you don't have to like me. I don't have to like you. What do you mean? What do you mean? Why is a kid not liking you? I'm not saying that there aren't going to be moments where we war with our parents. Of course we do when we were kids. We disagreed. There were probably times we wanted to run away. There were times where we argued. There were times where but not liking your parents, that's telling me that we ain't in a good relationship. Right? If you dislike your parent for a short amount of time, it's understandable. We've all been there. Right? We've all been there. Right? But not liking you, it's problematic. Very problematic. Because when I deal with God the Father and he deals with me, there are things I don't like when he tells me to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to go there and I don't want to have to do this. But the reality is, do I not like God? What? I like that guy. I like that guy. This is realness. This is realness, Torah. Absolutely. This is realness. Wait till you hear some of these guys are parents and how they talk about their children, and you realize they actually believe what I'm saying. They just don't want to agree outwardly. It's so interesting.
Your mother is the one that taught you about emotions. Your mother is the one that taught you about feelings. Your mother is the one because she's the nurturer. Your father is not supposed to be all in his feelings with you. He's supposed to be teaching you responsibility.
I didn't say
He's
that.
Structure and discipline.
Man, shit. He's supposed to be teaching you
I
all
didn't say
those things. The reason why the balance has gone. This is the reason why the balance is gone. Because you've had an abundance of single mothers having to raise their children by themselves. They've had to take on the pseudo role of being the provider. So guess what? They don't have time to be the nurturer. They don't have time to teach their sons those feelings and all of those different things. So that's where the disconnect is coming in. It's not a lack of if the father was there, okay? If he was there, it's not a lack of him going through the feelings and the emotions and shit. It's a lack of the connection between the mother and the father. You see what I'm saying?
I don't disagree with you. I'm saying so. I actually totally 100% agree with you. What I was expounding on is if we go a step further, when you come out of survival mode, because in survival mode we don't care about the emotions. That's what I'm trying to tell you. As a man, we don't care about the emotions. Get your money, provide for your family, job done. But we're no longer in survival mode. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So your role has to expand. This is what I'm trying to tell you. So I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm actually agreeing with parts of you. The reason why you're called angry man, and sometimes when I talk to men as well about emotions, we have this argument. Men are emotional, right? You are emotional. You have emotions, right? Anger is an emotion. Like, so it's like when we discuss this as a young man, or you guys being young man, the important aspects, yes, your father provided for you, but there, I think Daryl can put it in the chat as well. The things that even matter to a child, you even turn up to a ball game, is important to that child. If anybody here plays sports, if your father has never turned up to a ball game, you know how disappointed you felt. And disappointment is an emotion.
But guess what?
And what happens when people are disappointed? You know what happens? People either lower their expectations and they take their expectations away and they lower their standards. So regardless of whether we say that, you know, men can work, I agree that I think they should. And they should be a level of stoicism because you are the leader. But to ignore the fact that you are an emotional being and your children need emotional capacity from the father figure who's a lead is to ignore the fact that that child's not going to be as wholesome as he needs to be.
Bro, check this.
And here's the thing as well. If you can't be emotional, if you don't have emotional capacity for your children, you'll never have emotional capacity for your wife. Therefore, your wife is starved and she can't even be in her best form at giving the emotional capacity for these kids. If let's go by that instance. Let's say women are responsible for the emotional capacity of these children, right? Let's say the women are responsible for the emotional capacity of these children. If the father figure is unable to be emotional, if he hasn't got the ability to be emotional with the kid, he's got no capacity to be emotional with his wife. Therefore, if the wife is not getting any emotional capacity from that husband, or a little to none emotional capacity from that husband, how is she then supposed to feed that kid? She's been starved. See, when we talk about the man being the head of the home, The word head really means source. And when you are the source, it means things have to flow. Things have to flow from the head to the body. And when the Bible describes the relationship between a man and a woman, he describes it as being that Christ loved the church and the father should love the husband should love the wife in the same way. What that means is, and the lead, you are to feed the body correctly. I've said it several times. You can't complain if the body's out of shape because the body is not the one that's eating, it's the mouth. So the head has to be able to feed the source of a woman. Now, of course, if you've got a bad woman, that's a different story. That's common. We're not talking about that. If you've got a good woman, then you have to emotionally feed her as well. She needs to be fed. Otherwise, she's starving and she's given the lack of nutrients and deficiency that she has to that child. When a woman is pregnant, she has to keep eating to have nutrients, not for one, but for two. So when you are a man, you have to feed the wife so she can feed the kids. Because since the women are the emotional nurturers, I'll go with it. Let's go with that. Then it needs you to be emotionally aware and intelligent and have the emotional capacity, because she needs to be fed as well. Oh, she just got the emotions out of nowhere, right? You think that she's not going to get tired? You're not going to think that she needs to eat emotionally and mentally and spiritually and a little bit sexually too, okay, and financially. That's why the role of the father and the role of the husband is so harsh, because there's a lot of work we actually have to do, but you cannot negate those aspects. We're no longer in 1950. We're no longer running with dinosaurs. We're no longer in points in time where you're in war. You are in a place where you're thriving. And in the thriving mode, we have a luxury to deal with emotions now. We have to. That's why you hear people say, oh, you guys are soft nowadays. No. The difference is you had other external factors that were affecting you. You couldn't deal with your emotions. If you have a whole society of white folk trying to kill you, you ain't got time to think about your emotions. You need to survive. How you raise your kids is to survive. It's not to be in the luxurious space of dealing with your emotions. But if we're now in a space where you're not necessarily being killed, quote unquote, not necessarily being killed every day for your color of your skin, or you having, or having dinosaurs run after you. I'm using dinosaurs as an excuse, but it's not really all that stuff, right? You don't have an external threat that hits you every single day. Then you have more luxury to deal with what is in you, because you're not always running, right? So there's an importance now to deal with the person within. But how do I expect the kids to be fed if I'm not feeding my wife? Because if you can't feed the kids, you can't feed your wife. If you can't emotionally give time to your kids, you can't give emotional time to your wife. You can't give what you don't have, right? Because you're out there working, apparently. Like you said, you're out there working so hard, so you have no time for the kid, which means you have no time for the wife. Woo!
It's out. Check this out.
I want to interject whenever I get a chance, bro.
Look, when a father, look, here's the thing, because this is the part we keep leaving out, right? For black men specifically, right? And even though black men have to do this, white men do it as well. When a man is trying to build something, when a man is trying to create for his family, right? He has to work, he has to grind, okay? When a man works 60 hours a week or longer, or 80 hours a week, he doesn't have time for certain things, okay? In order for that kid to be able to play sports, in order for that kid to have his equipment, in order for his family to be right, he has to grind. So guess what? When he doesn't turn up for a basketball game, it is then on the responsibility of the mother to be there.
Pause. So let's be honest, right? Okay, let's be honest as well in this situation. If the man is working 80 hours a week, which is the reality for some families, right? Not all, for some. Okay, if he's working 8 hours a week, right? I understand. There are going to be times where he can't come into a ball game, can't come to this. We understand, okay? But the reality is most of you are not working 8 hours a week. Let's stop the cap, okay? The reality is most of you are not working 80 hours a week, right? The reality is most men who are married, okay, are in the space where both man and woman need to work. Most of us cannot afford to even pay all the bills. So you have man and woman working. So the excuse of I can't do this, 80 hours is not in there. You ain't got 80 hours. You got 40, maybe 50, maximum maybe 60. All right. And even then, you still cannot negate the fact that the child still needs what it needs. It's like saying I was so busy I couldn't feed the child. No, but the child needs food. And what the problem is that you don't feel that they need emotional care. That's the issue. We don't put a priority on the emotion that the child needs. And so we say, well, I can negate that because I'm working, I'm paying the bills. You are not doing your job. You think you are, but you're failing your job. Technically, you're failing your job because the child needs that aspect. But what we will quote it as, well, you know, they're not dysfunctional in our society. You know, they're not dysfunctional in our society. So clearly, I've done a good job. But you don't realize that child is growing up with wounds. Like I said, if you want to judge it by survival mode, great job. I'm not judging it by survival mode anymore because we're not in survival mode anymore. I'm judging it by the luxury that we're in. Right? We're in a luxury place. Okay, and when we're in a luxury place, it means, yes, we need to work on emotions, right? So my thing here in this situation is, again, once more, we cannot negate the fact, okay, we cannot negate the fact that these kids need your time. They need your conversations. They need your ear, okay, right? We all need it. So we have to evolve. And I told these men, if your leadership is based upon your financial, like you work 80 hours a week, the women are saying the exact same thing. They work 80 hours a week and they're now leaders too. Now you've got a problem. Because now they're saying, based on your principles, based on your standards, based on what you call to be a leader. And then he said, no, that's not what it is. But you're telling me right now, because you work 8 hours a week, you've done your job. And I'm telling you, you ain't done your job. So which one is it? Sometimes you have to sacrifice sleep. That's what you have to know. Sometimes you're sacrificing sleep just to turn up to a ball game. And I'm not even saying they're going to turn up to every single game. We know. But what you don't realize is children internalize these issues. When a parent doesn't turn up to a game, a child doesn't blame the parent. It internalizes it. Man, I'm going to start talking some stuff now. All right, cool. Let's go. Let's go. When a parent doesn't do a particular thing for the child, right? Of course, not talking about spoiling or entitlement. Let's say, for instance, a parent doesn't turn up to a basketball game. The child doesn't blame the parent. It internalizes it. Because a child, what it wants to do is it begins to say, well, I must have done something wrong. Or maybe I'm not doing something right. Or, well, it starts to try to make excuses for you. Oh, well, the child, well, my dad's working, so I have to understand that. It starts to internalize it all. And this is where we have problems in society. Because then people start, once they start internalizing it, they try to reason with the issue as to why it's not happening. If they don't have a conversation with the parent, if they do not have a conversation with the parent, there is going to be a gap in that child, and it's going to what we're going to call a wound, an emotional wound. Because what that kid's going to do is go, well, my parents never came to any of my games. I don't necessarily. And then what happens is you start lowering your standards. You go, well, I don't need no one to turn up to a game. It is what it is, right? Okay, of course, mom turned up to a game. Yes, we know mom turned up to a game. Yes, mom came and supported. But what I'm saying to you is both parents are needed in this instance. Both parents are needed. Right. And this is what happens. And so if you, and let's say no parent. OK, I'm going to take it two ways. No parent turns up to the game. Right. You lower your standards. You start feeling disappointment. You don't want to feel disappointment anymore. So you start saying, OK, do you know what? I won't put any emphasis on anybody doing anything for me because I don't want to be hurt by the disappointment. Let's say one parent turns up. What happens is the person becomes an extreme people pleaser because what they're trying to do now is yield the affections of the father figure. So the mother's turning up to all the games, but the father's nowhere to be seen. Then the child is trying to now become a people pleaser because it realizes mom was there. I get it, but I want dad to be there. So how do I do it? I got to please him. And maybe he will then see me. So you end up having extreme people pleasers. So what I'm saying to you, okay, all right, is that there are emotional effects that happen in this. You want to talk about the fact that these women are out here, and listen, I'm not leaving them not to be accountable. I'm saying that when we try to fix it one way, you have to fix it on multiple levels and deal with the root. So this young man that has 7 baby mothers with 7 kids, where do you think he learned that mentality from, please? It's coming from somewhere. It's not just born out of, oh, I decided to have 7 kids. Anyway, we'll go back into that point again in a second. Let me,
And for the money to her child, your father would be here if he could, but he can't because he's doing X, Y, Z. But in this day and age, the mothers are not doing that. The mothers are saying to the kid, your father ain't here because he ain't shit.
True story.
That's where
which is the case that I grew up in. But you know what? Even though my dad wasn't at the fucking game, I played my hardest. Because I know that I was going to see him and I was going to say, hey, Dad, I scored 2 goals at the game yesterday or last week or whatever. I'm going to go to him and brag when I go and see him. Just because he's not there don't mean...
That's why that's...
See, they're not even deep in what's happening. Okay, so let's deep it. So what Angry Man said, the mother's not... Look at the extreme that's gone to, right? I'm not even talking about single parents, but okay, we're talking about single parents, right? The single parents are telling their kids that your father ain't doo-doo, that's why he ain't there. Well, first and foremost, this single mother epidemic is quite new. If we're talking about the last 20 or so years or whatever, 20, 30 years, 40 years, we're going to call it. It's quite a new phenomenon, if you want to call it that, right? So if we take the last 50 or 60 years away, this is not the case, right? This is not the case. And so I'm saying that in this instance, why did we go straight to, well, the mothers are now telling them that their fathers ain't doo-doo? Which women are doing that? I'm not saying they aren't doing it. I'm saying which women are doing that, though. Because for me, I was really talking about a 2-parent household. I wasn't even talking about the single mother at this aspect. I was talking about a 2-parent household. Why did you go to the single mother? The reason being, again, because, again, there is a resentment that keeps happening that comes through our points that now we start looking at women. I'm not saying women are not to be accountable. I've said it already earlier on the show. We hold women accountable and the men. But why is it in this conversation we've gone back onto the mothers have not said? I said a 2-parent household. What mother? I grew up with 2 parents. When did my mother ever tell me, hey, your father couldn't be here because he's a piece of trash? What? Like you trying to create a problem when there is no problem. I've never heard a parent who's in a relationship with you, well, your dad's trash. You know how they usually make an excuse for him. Like, you know how your dad is, he's working or da-da-da. So I was confused. I was like, wait, I don't know what kind of situation you're talking about, but we're talking about 2-parent household. That was not what we're discussing. How did we get to that point? But anyway.
That's why cool
hold on real quick. Real quick. It might be cool and all, but like I can't go by what y'all niggas go through with y'all kids. But I know for a fact when I show up to my daughter recital, the moment I get through the door and she see me, she 1,000% happy, bro. Right? So those are intimate moments. Me showing up to my son games, he tells me, I don't have to ask, Dad, thank you for showing up here. And as far as if I'm not grinding, the way my family built, my pop's still alive. His heart still pumping. And as long as it is, we're gonna all fucking do shit together. The lone wolf always gonna die while the pack survive. So the mom might be on some bullshit, but both of the granddaddies, they both still there. We all tapped in, right? We all respect each other. So that's the kind of family unit I like working around. And that's the only thing I wanted to add to the conversation was I don't disagree about the emotional shit, AM, but going to like participating in so many things that young men go through. Like, bro, me teaching my son how to tie his tie when he was trying to do it to impress a young girl. That shit mattered to him.
Okay, but I'm not discounting any of that. The point that I'm trying to make.
No, but you did discount that. The point was he discounted that. See, now he's saying he doesn't discount it, but he was discounting it. And that's why I said to you that sometimes men are fighting a different battle. They're fighting this resentment against something because clearly the point I was making was about time being spent and the emotional capacity. Now he's telling us no, but I don't disagree. What you mean? But you were disagreeing. That's the whole point. You were disagreeing. That's what I was trying to tell you, that it is different. You need to spend time with your kid. Okay, so you discounted it. I didn't discount it. You discounted it. And now the brother is telling you from a father perspective how his daughter's even impacted by him just being there. I keep saying it. Sometimes some of these men really think that just making money is the way to go. It's like, no, even just being there makes a big difference. Listen, I've been in a few plays. Okay, where I've been the lead, right? I did some acting when I was younger, and there were two that I remember. I remember one in primary school, which is between like 5 and 11, so about like 10 years old. I looked into the crowd, and my mum was there, but my dad wasn't there, right? My mum was there, but my dad wasn't there. And I enjoyed it, I loved it, but I wanted to see my dad there, okay? I grew up, I started playing soccer, football for you guys, right? And I started playing football, and not once did my dad ever come. Not because he's bad, but I played on a Sunday. I started playing on a Sunday, and so, you know, he's at church. At the same time church is going on, I'm playing football, right? So I got it. And but it's still what I still would have wished he would have seen me. I went home and told him, yeah, Dad, I played well, this and that. Yeah, but it still didn't make up for the fact he weren't there. Okay. Then I remember that I did a play like some years back, and my dad turned up. Yeah. I bought him a ticket. I said, you go and turn up. He said, all right, cool, you're going to turn up. My mom didn't turn up, but my dad did, right? So my dad turned up to this play. Yeah. Let me tell you something, yeah. Because there was a scene in the show where I'm supposed to like be sad. Yeah. So it's at the end of the show. And when I spotted him, yeah, I started crying. Now, the role was meant to be sad, but I didn't know I was going to cry. And I'm talking about I started weeping, blood. Because my character is meant to be sad and be angry at God, like sad and angry at God at the time in my character. So when I saw him, I just channeled the energy I felt in that moment. And I just started crying and talking and saying, God, I don't like this, right? As my character was meant to do. Blood. When behind the scenes of the curtain, when the curtain closed and everyone was clapping like, oh my God, what the fuck? That's a great show. Behind the scenes, me and my brother were both on the acting stage, and we dapped, yeah, we said tap tap, and then we did this, bro, and then we hugged, and then both of us just started crying. We started crying. Everyone else starts crying, and everyone starts crying who's part of the acting as well. I don't know, someone, you know, why everyone's crying. Everyone's crying. They don't know why we're crying, but we're crying because first, the show was amazing. Secondly, the fact that me and my brother are both on the same stage, amazing. Dad's come out to, this is the only time he's come out to anything, bro. Okay, the only time, right? And he's come out to anything. Because of course he's always working, we understand that, right? But when we came out to do the bow, bro, we were in tears. We came to do the bow in tears. And after, and this is why I say that it's interesting, right? When we got home, my dad was like, you know, you guys, you did so well. You did so well. Wow. I didn't know you can act like this. And I'm like, you would have known if you actually came to things. You know what I mean? You would have known. But I appreciate the fact that he came, right? I appreciate the fact that he came that one time, right? Out of all the times, if even just once, I'll take it. You know what I mean? Even if it's just once, I'll take it. You know what I mean? Yeah? Even if it's just once, I'll take it. Now, funnily enough, when we have conversations like, oh, I watched your YouTube video. I'm like, wait, did you? I didn't even know. He said, hey, yeah, I watched it. Okay, you're good. I see that you do. So he'd be watching things, not telling me, and we'll have a conversation and he'll tell me. And I'll be like, oh, okay, I didn't know you're watching it. Like, do you know what I mean? Because again, my expectation is so low that anything will be good for me. You lower your expectations because you've not had that before, right? But like I said, parents suddenly realize when they get older, when the kids out the house and no longer in the space, that, hey, I need to build an emotional connection with these kids. Not to say that he was bad, but to say that, again, he's an African parent coming from Africa, coming from Ghana, and you're coming from survival. Really, I mean, it's tough in there. Don't play with me. Coming from Africa to UK or US, it ain't no joke. And all that time that you have, you know, all that time that you have trying to build your family, it's tough to be emotional. But because he also never had a father too, he never had a father. He's also learning on the job. Of course, when I get older, I have grace, but that doesn't stop the wounds. Do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter whether I understand or not. It doesn't stop the wounds. So now my job is to heal and to make sure that when I have kids, I can pass this on. I have to make sure that I don't make the same excuses he did, because I actually had a dad. He didn't have one. I actually had a dad. So whether he was there all the time or not, I had something better than what he had. Now I have to improve on that and make sure that, do you know what? More than just money, I got to make money. I have to. But I also got to make sure I have time for these kids. I got to make time. I got to make sure I have time for these kids. When you're dead, there's no time. You're dead. So I don't, and someone said this here, you try to avoid disappointment. There's many kids who are like this, who are trying to avoid disappointment. There are many. And I remember one time, this is when I realized I had a wound that was within me, right? I remember when I was younger and I was playing football, I invited my girlfriend at the time to come and watch me play. Yeah. I invited my girlfriend to come and watch me play. And she said, yeah, I'm going to come. And she didn't turn up, but she didn't tell me also that she weren't turning up. So when we had a conversation, I got so vexed. So why didn't you turn up? You told me you were going to turn up. If you weren't going to turn up, you should have told me you weren't going to turn up. We get into she's like, oh no, because I had some things to do. I was like, you're making excuses. What do you mean you had things to do? Clearly you had other priorities. Now after I think maybe like a year or two later, I was like, my beef wasn't with her, man. My beef wasn't with her. My beef was really with my dad. But we put a lot of burdens on our partners to fix what our parents didn't do. Now, some people are not aware of this. So they tell you, oh, no, that's how I am. No. Some of you are putting burdens on your partner that you ain't fixed within yourself and you haven't dealt with your parents. And it comes out. And this is me at 18. At 18 years old, playing football, playing some soccer, and my girlfriend doesn't turn up to the thing. And I'm thinking to myself, why didn't you turn up? And it happened twice. And after the second time, I said, I don't care. Don't turn up at all. I don't want to see. And the reason why is because I don't want to feel that disappointment. You know what I mean? I don't want to feel that disappointment. So yes, she did not turn up and I was hurt by that. But the level of resentment I had towards her at that moment, that don't even turn up again, is simply what this. It's simply what? The point of the matter is I was hurt by that. Now, of course, after that, she ignored that and came anyway next time, right? She came again after that. But I remember that point. I was so angry, but I wasn't angry at her. I was angry at the fact that I've seen this before and I'm seeing it again. Why does nobody want me to why don't you want to support me? But the reality is my anger wasn't really with her. I mean, there was some frustration there, yeah, but the level, no. It was greater because I had seen it with my parents, right? So there are many kids like this. Okay, he said, well, you're winning. I was winning. Don't worry. I was winning. That's what even hurt me the most. I was pissed. I was like, that was one of my best games. I scored a hat trick. I was so pissed. I was so pissed, right? So it gets to a point where you start like not trying to listen. I'll be honest, I'm still working on this. I don't like asking people for nothing. I hate it. One of my cousins is a musician, right? And I asked him for a ticket for VIP, and it made me feel sick. It made me feel sick, but I said, let me just ask him because I need to actually push myself. Like, he's, we're cousins and that, right? But it made me feel sick. I mean, you're asking for, for you to, I feel like I have to earn everything. That's the problem. That's the problem with the wound. I feel like I have to earn everything. I see the world as you must earn every single thing. If I'm on YouTube and they do me dirty, I'm like, well, did I earn that? If I didn't earn it, then I can't complain, right? I don't like asking people for handouts. You know what I mean? I'm not about to ask somebody, listen, if I ask for an interview and they say no, I'm not about to use anything else. That's it. Cool. That's it. I'm not going to beg you. I'm not going to beg you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to beg you. I'm just going to figure out, okay, what do I need to do next time so that you can't ignore me? That's what my brain goes to. What do I have to do next time so you can't ignore me? Because I'm not asking for a handout, right? I'm not going to ask it so that you can disappoint me in that moment, but I'll cover it with saying, no, I just don't like, no. What it is really and truly is like, you know, I'm not a beg. No, not that you're not a beg. You don't want to ask because you don't want to be in a place where you could be disappointed. And that's the reality of the life. It's tough. Many of us are in that space, and it comes from father and mother wounds. It comes from father and mother wounds. And it's not to say our parents aren't good parents. It's to say that, listen, we need more. We needed more. And when a mindset is solely focused on I can pay bills, this is what happens to these kids, man. You know, this is what happens. So, you know, just because you're standing and you're walking and you're running, don't mean internally you ain't broken, bro. You know what I mean?
My pops called me one day last year and had a conversation with me, right? As man to man. He said, look, there's a lot of things I wish I could have did back in the day, but I couldn't because I always thought that I was going to end up making more money. He was always grinding, right?
See, what most of us do is we defend ourselves so we don't look like we needed something because we don't want to look weak. Well, none of us want to look weak. We don't want to look like we're vulnerable, right? So we cover up how we feel with, no, I don't mind. What do you mean? I didn't need my dad like that. No, you needed your dad like that. And you needed your mom like that. You did, right? He's about to put the point across that one day his father called him and said what? And said, do you know what? There's more things I wish I could have done. Why? Because the father's also realizing money isn't that important. And he sacrificed that with the hope that he'd make what? More money. Let's see where he takes it though.
And he said, but I never got to that point. And I told him, I said, I'm not even mad at you. Because I understand what men have to go through.
Pause it. He will understand, but what wounds have you gathered in that time? I'm not saying that we can't hold. Listen, I appreciate. I know my dad had to work. I know my dad had his own battles to face, but I keep saying it. Children internalize this thing, and so what happens is, it's like I know he had to do that. We start making excuses, but it actually means that you now have to start working on yourself, because in that moment when I start saying that, oh, I understand when my dad had to work and stuff, it's me also neglecting how I felt. So what happens when I neglect how I felt? Well, I'm going to compart. Sorry, let me say it again so it's clear, because I know I'm rushing. It's because all the information is coming into my head, and I apologize, I'm rushing, and it's coming out all in one gush. It's just coming in one go. Okay, so let me slow it down. So he just said that his father called him and said, I wish I could have done more. I wish I could have been, could have been a bit there, a bit more. But the reason being I couldn't do that is because, you know what? I thought I was going to make more money. So in a sense, the father has sacrificed time to make more money, right? Cool, right? So he then says, I'm not even angry about it because I understand that you had to work as a man. What needs to be spoken about is not the fact we understand, because I understand, and many kids understand their parents as what's happened, but that understanding is at the expense of what? A neglect of your own feelings. See, right now, I'm not angry at my dad. I'm not. But if I search deep within, I can find that there are disappointment there, a feeling of sadness there, a feeling of I've been let down in certain areas, or I wanted this a bit more. And when you search deep within yourself and you actually do the introspective work, you'll realize that some of your behaviors towards not only other men, but other women as well, especially in relationships, is built upon that disappointment that you felt and the lack of emotional care that you had that gets pushed onto the woman. And so we start saying women are more emotional, which, whether you argue or not doesn't make a difference. But then you expect the woman to pick up the emotional work because you didn't do the work, right? You expect the woman now to do the work, right? Emotionally, because you didn't do the work. So you start putting all your things that you felt with your father onto the woman. And this is actually why a lot of relationships start to fail. Not just men. I'm talking about the man because I'm a man. Women do the exact same thing to men. Women do the exact same thing to men. But what I'm talking about is from the male perspective because I'm a man. So those disappointments, those feelings of anger that you might have had in your youth, those lack of emotional care in those moments, they get pushed. And if you don't learn how to heal appropriately, you just saying, I got up and I'm walking again, doesn't mean you healed. Yeah. If you see me now, you see my TikTok, I can dance, I can jump, I can do all this stuff, right? But my ligaments in my knee, I can't play football anymore. I can't play soccer. Because when I do a certain jigger movement, the ligaments don't hold. You would know TikTok. Because you're like, this guy is dancing all over the place, dancing up and down. And when I tell people, no, I got a ligament issue. What do you mean? Bro, listen, you way you're dancing. I'm like, do you know sometimes my leg swells up when I'm dancing? I just don't tell anybody. I can show outwardly that I'm good, but within the body's feeling some type of way. And so when you don't deal with it and you don't heal, outwardly it will look like because I'm walking and talking and running, I'm good. But internally, there's brokenness in there, bro. There's brokenness in there. I love that point, Dahlia. It's very true. Very, very true. It's also a good point, Elsie. This is why he's called Angry Man. Why he called himself Angry Man, I don't know. Angry Man. Interesting. Let's go.
Especially black men. You know, black men have to be 900 times better than their counterpart just to get what they get.
You still ain't.
So my thing is, look, with my kids, there are things that I've spent time with them on. But
pause. Listen to where he's going. This is why I said to you that they don't disagree with me. They don't disagree with me, but they want to be able to put it in a particular way because it makes them feel weak. But listen to what he's about to say. Listen to what he's about to say. He's a father. And I commend him. He's a father. I think he even has stepkids, but they're a little bit older now. But listen to what he's going to say. Some powerful stuff.
One thing I know about kids is if they get some shit in their mind about you, especially if their mama put it in their head, it's going to be there no matter what the fuck you do. And see, when you realize that as a man, I will tell my kids straight up and down, I don't give a damn if you upset with me or if you don't like me. My job is not for you to like me. My job is to give you the tools you need so that you can be able to live a decent life, hopefully a better life than me.
Good survival.
You feel what I'm saying? So I get what y'all are saying, but this world where you think that, look, in my opinion, you got women and men that try to do the 50-50 thing, right? But what I'm noticing nowadays is what the women want is not 50-50. What they want is 75-25. They want the man to go out and work, and then they want him to come home and do half of their wifely duties. So that's not 50-50. That's 75-25. And
no, that's a certain level of cap. That's a certain level of cap. I'm not saying there aren't certain men who do that, who do more of the pulling of the work, but that's some cap. Okay, that's some cap. That's some cap. Again, look what he's saying. If you instinctively hear what he's actually saying, what he's saying is that you put in an emotional work of your child is a woman's job. That's why we're failing. That's why we are failing. How can the job of parenting in an emotional sense of you providing your time and your energy, your ears, your eyes, your body, you being present in a moment with your kids be only a woman's job when your father just called you and told you wish you could have done more? You're only doing half the job. Yes, he is mentally in survival mode. A lot of men are in survival mode. And they think they're thriving when they financially kill the game, and they're not. they're still in survival mode.
Reason why a lot of women are pushing that today, if we're being quite honest, is because a lot of women today are fucking lazy. They don't read to their children. They don't make sure they're doing their homework. They don't go to the PTA meeting. They don't go down to the school. They don't do none of that shit. And you got dudes out here killing themselves, trying to make sure that their kids got what they fucking need. And then they're being told that it ain't enough because they're not emotionally intelligent or they're not in touch with their feelings or some shit like that. And that shit.
Yes, it's not enough, sir. Yes, it's not enough anymore. But to be fair, again, my dad came down to listen, when I got in trouble at school, do you know who came down to the school? With my mom. Hey, when I got in trouble at school, I remember one time my dad called me outside and then slapped me in front of the school, blood. That was mad. When my mom knew coming out here. It's my dad who came down. Do you know what I mean? You know, so I don't know about it. You know, I don't know about it, but you know, in terms of the conversations and spending time with the kids, it needs both, man. It needs both. You know, it needs both parties involved. Both parties need to be involved. What happens when the woman also has to, in a household, when a woman has to work too? What happens when a woman has to work because financially we have to work together because financially we can't afford it on our own? What happens to those women who have to work? So whose job is it then to look after the kids? And who would be doing more of the work if they both work? Come on.
That shit is bullshit, man.
But you see, Angry Man too. I was gonna say alongside what Daryl was saying. Alongside what Daryl was saying, that's why it's so important for men that are gonna have kids to be intentional, to understand that the first 2 years, even first 3 years, we understand that the child is being nurtured by the mother. But at age 3, when you have a boy, the boy is gonna start picking up some mannerisms, and that boy needs to be around the father a lot. My son, he just turned 3. I told my wife straight up, listen, for the first 2 years, you on mama mode, nurturing mode, I don't got time. I got to grind. I got to work. I worked 80 hours a week. You know what I mean? Once he turned 3 years old, that's it. He's on my time now. He's with me almost everywhere I go. I have the luxury of working from home. If I go to my cousin's house, he's with me. If I go out to family business, he's with me. Why? Because he's going to pick up certain mannerisms and everything. I told my wife straight up the other day, I'm like, watch this, talk to him. She talks to him the whole night. He's talking normal. And then all of a sudden, watch this. When I talk to him, he starts trying to imitate my voice.
Yep.
Why? Because he picks up, he sees the man figure now, right? He starts picking up things. So this is what I tell men. Be intent. When you're going to have a boy, especially a boy, you need to make sure that you grind the hell out for the first 2 or 3 years in order for you to be in that child's life, in order for that child to be following you. Because that little child, he needs to imitate. He doesn't need to imitate another woman. You get what I mean? My daughters need to know that I'm going to be there and protect them. But I need my son to know that I'm going to be there, protect them, but at the same time, he needs to imitate me. My daughters need to imitate them.
And that's important, but
Lord, I don't know about this, Gia. That's rich, especially coming from a man who admitted to laying up on his children's mom while she collected government benefits. What was the percentage then? I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know about it. I don't know about all that, but I appreciate the super chat, but I don't know about it. I'm not involved, but I don't know about it. You know. So, I mean, listen, I personally think you should be there from the very jump. I don't think you should even wait 2 to 3 years. I think you should be involved from the very beginning. And maybe because also I'm firstborn, and maybe because also I've actually read up my other siblings. When I say read up, I've been involved in several stages of their development, that I know that spending time with a baby is quintessential. I've seen first steps. Let me tell you something. You cannot get that back. I am telling you now, I don't want to miss it for my own kids. I might do because I might be working, but I pray to God I don't miss it. When you see a kid take their first steps, you don't know the thing. You don't know the thing. I'm telling you. Listen, I saw all my siblings' first steps. I mean, actually, no. The last 2, the girls. I saw the girls. So when I saw, because I used to obviously babysit quite a bit, right? So they'll be there, and you see, the first time you ever see a baby ever try to stand up, Oh my days. You can't get that time back. The first time you see this kid, the baby begin to crawl for the first time, and it learns how to crawl, and it suddenly knows where it's trying to go some places, and it's actually, you know, you'd be like, where are you going? Where have you gone to? Or where you can't, sometimes you're in a house, you don't know where the baby's crawled to. Where are you? Where are you? You find a kid in some weird space between the sofa or something, or underneath the sofa or something like that. Those moments you cannot get back. I'm telling you now, you cannot get back. When that kid finally puts his hand on the sofa to stand up, and his legs are doing Bambi against the legs, and it thinks he can take its first step, and it falls. You don't know about those things there, bro. You know what I mean? You don't know about them things there. Listen, Mandem, if you miss those moments, you're missing quite a lot, bro. You're missing key defining moments. Key defining moments. When they do their first run and they trip, bro, I'm telling you, it's a sight to behold when you see it, man. It's a sight to behold when you see it. It's so fascinating to see a baby learning how to crawl and how to walk. Because you take walking for granted. I run everywhere. But when you first see a child, a baby, developing that understanding, woo! No, you can't play with that, man. You can't play with that, man. I've seen those moments, man. It's crazy. And this is how much time I spent with I think it was the youngest one. And I felt kind of bad. I felt like I was kind of intruding on parenting. But the first one, I think the youngest one, she was like, instead of saying da, she said ko. You know? She said ko. And I said, you're saying ko? I said, you should be saying da. But she's saying ko. I said, well, continue while you're there, cuz. Ko, Joe. Add it while you can. But the J's very hard for the little babies, you know what I mean? The Joe's very hard, you know what I mean? But the ko was there. You understand? Yeah? Ko. I'm like, oh man, yo. So when you see those moments, you cannot take that back. I'm a brother, I'm not even a dad, but those moments are important. When I'm carrying you on my shoulder and I'm rubbing your back, making sure that you've eaten the food you can belch after you've eaten your food. Okay? It's important. You don't miss those moments when you're pelting, you know what I'm saying? When I do this and lift you up and you vomit in my face, you miss those moments. Yeah? You miss those moments. When you put that child on your knee and you put your arm around it because it's so cute, it's so small, and we're watching TV together, or you're eating your food and the baby's trying to yank the food from your hand, you don't know what moments you're missing. I can tell you this because I've done it myself. When you're literally eating your food and that little baby comes over and grabs your food and you're having a fight with the baby because the hand is so strong, and you're asking, where's your strength coming from? Why are you so strong? Yeah? Or when a baby puts something in his mouth, you feed a little foot and it goes, because it's like, what the hell is this? Yo, and you don't know. You don't know. Okay? You don't know. Okay? You don't know. So you're missing key moments in a child's development. That's when they're a baby, bro. I'm telling you, that's when they're a baby. Ha! You've not undone the nappy, opened up and gone, oh my God, no. Woohoo! You know what I mean? You know, you need to have those moments. You open up the nappy and you see and you're like, oh my days, bro. How can you do so much? What's wrong with you? How can you do so much? How you do so much? And whilst you're telling the baby you're doing so much, the baby's laughing at you. As if you don't understand what I've got to do right now. As if I don't have to take the wipes. I have to get the baby powder. Huh? I have to even get a little cream as well. I have to wipe your ass. Clean you up a little bit. Put on the baby powder. Put on the cream as well. Make sure your ass is not going to get a rash. Huh? You don't know what you're missing. Listen, now I'm reliving it in my mind. I'm like, listen, you don't know those moments. When they're laughing at you because they come up to you and they slap you. And they think it's a joke. They think it's a joke to slap you in the face. You don't remember these moments. Okay? You know, when you get slapped in the face and they're laughing and running away because they think it's funny. Right? But these are key moments because you teach that child. I spent time teaching them. So I had to spend time teaching them. Now, not everything I taught them was the best way. I think I could have done a better job because I was teaching the same way I got taught. You know what I mean? But yeah, I remember those moments. I remember your first steps. I remember your crawl. I remember your first words. You know what I mean? I remember taking you to the shops. You know, I remember all those moments. I remember having to make your food, having to taste it myself first, doing that. Is that too hot? Putting on your hand and going, oh, okay, it's okay. That's not too bad. You know, having to distill the bottles. You know, shout out SMA. They did a lot, man. Having to do airplane with the food, going, you know, putting it into the thing, going, having to clean up. You know how you clean up? You have to clean the mouth like this. You have to clean them out. Y'all don't know, bro. You know, remember the time when the kid first, when it wants to do it itself, when you put the spoon, and the day that it rejects you, says, no, I want to do it. Oh, okay. You big now. You big now. And you see them messing up all over the place, and you go come and clean it. You remember those days when they go into the cupboard and grab something and splash everything everywhere, and you got to clean it up? You don't know. How much older am I? So everyone's 4 years. So my brother is 4 years younger than me. Then the sister is 8 years, and then the last one is 12 years. So that's that age gap. You know, man. You know. So listen, I'm telling you, man. Those moments, bro. Like, yo, they. Honestly, and at the time, I used to get annoyed because I missed out a lot of summer holidays, right? Going out places. But when I look back and I'm like, yo, I really do appreciate those moments because, you know, man, even the first time when I held the baby, I was even scared to hold the baby. But when it held it, it's just, you know, you have to even hold it in a particular way. The head should be hitting the arm and the underneath the child, you know what I'm saying? So you don't crush it too much. You know, you got to be careful. You know, you don't smother the child this way. No, you got to hold it like this so it rests almost on the arm, almost like you're doing weighting. You know what I mean? So the child can kind of rock with you a little bit. You know, yo, listen, these are little things I'm telling you as a father you don't want to be missing. Okay, all right. So, you know, I'm saying that because these are quintessential moments. Okay, these are quintessential moments. You know, that these people now, you know, obviously I didn't have to wake up in the middle of the night all the time, you know, to feed them because that wasn't my job. But yeah, doing all that kind of stuff, man. Go make your sister some food. Oh, cool. All right, let me continue the thing. Last few minutes because we're gonna go to 2 hours.
At the same time, you're not in a situation where you have the mother of your children that's not doing her part too. That's the point that I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you say well-rounded, right? When DarkArts said well-rounded, right? If you have a father that's grinding out, making the money, and then coming and trying to be an emotional support for his son, but the mama ain't shit, that child ain't gonna be well-rounded. That's the point that I'm trying to make about the dude with the 7 damn kids. Even if he goes,
why again? Why is it that my point wasn't even about bad. Again, the focus on having bad mothers when clearly we're talking about this young man is the biggest issue. We are talking about the man. We're talking about what he is contributing, and we're talking about what his role is. So I'm not talking about a bad mother because we're talking about men and their impact. We've shifted the goalpost to prove a point, but my point wasn't talking about bad mothers because I'm talking about the impact a father has, the influence a father has. How can I talk to women about the influence and the importance of a man if all you can tell me is that your greatest influence is making money? Then that's why we have conversations with women and they say, well, we can have kids by ourselves. So how can you tell women that men are important when all you can tell me is your leadership is based upon finances? Oh, you're gonna say, well, I can teach them responsibility. Anybody can teach somebody responsibility if they put their focus on it, right? They can teach them responsibility to be responsible, right? But we have to start putting some emphasis on the importance of father figures and men in young men and young girls' lives, young women and young men's lives. So importantly otherwise then the women can say whatever they want. They can have kids without us because you're not needed. If you're only, that's why I keep on saying, if your only thing is financial, we're in a big situation here. All right. I'm going to put on full belts. I need to go to the loo. Okay. So
and trying to spend time with all 7 kids, but them mamas ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? He's still going to end up with the same result. The only problem is this is what's going to flip. What's crazy is you could have a dude like that, right? Where he's spending as much time as he can with the kids, going and getting the kids on the weekends and shit and all of that. But if that mama ain't shit and she don't like him, she gonna put it in his head. She gonna put it in that child's head that he ain't shit and it doesn't matter. And look, you talking to somebody that even when I had the grind, even when I had the tattoo and shit, if I had to go get my kids that weekend, I'm like, yo, y'all gonna have to come with me to the tattoo shop. Y'all gonna have to come.
They won't even know.
Shop. You feel what I'm saying?
So
the woman won't even know that she's subconscious.
Wait, Jabba's been raising his hand like a student.
So I just wanted to say this because Ruckus had said something earlier about men feeling vindicated by him. I want to give pushback on that because
okay. Sorry, I had to go to Lou. Okay, so if you heard him, I heard it because I had the earphone in my ear. He spoke about, obviously, I want to go slightly back. He spoke about how the kids will come to him with the tattoo place and, you know, if the mother does what it's not. And again, this is why I said we have to hold this man accountable. This is why we have to hold that man with 7 kids, we have to hold him accountable. Because if he's then purposely shooting up other women who he knows are just people who are bust downs, he has not vetted these women to make sure they're good mothers. So again, the responsibility of us as men doesn't fall on them. If I'm talking to men specifically, it doesn't fall on women. If I'm talking to men, if I'm talking to women, I'll say that for women, you need to vet this man before you get pregnant by this man. Yes, I agree. But I'm talking to men, so I'm not talking to the women. And if we're saying about the men, then we have to understand that when you are saying that, you know what, there are women out there that are going to talk bad about the father. Why are we choosing women who are going to be bad people towards you and going to say bad things about you, who are going to be negative towards you? So again, the onus of us upon ourselves is to make sure that first and foremost, we, are choosing correctly too. That's what I said about responsibility. Women have their own responsibility too. Women have their own responsibility too. And they got to do what they got to do. Okay, all right. But for the men, we've got to hold other men accountable. That's why this whole, how can we hold him accountable? He doesn't care. No, we've got to hold him accountable. Right? We can do that first and foremost by holding other men, making sure that they know this ain't the way to go. What you see here, this is not somebody we aspire to be. This ain't the guy we like. Instead, we're trying to defend him and defend his actions by saying, well, these mothers are like, when you start defending his actions, you are negating everything that you actually are trying to build. You say you're a father. You are going to teach your child to stay away from a man like this. Why? You know?
I just wanted to say this because Ruckus had said something earlier about men feeling vindicated by him. I want to give pushback on that because I don't think men are going around saying they ain't shit. He has said he's not shit.
Mm-hmm.
So
what do you mean that I said he ain't shit? What do you mean?
No, not you. The baby dad, the seven kids dude.
I'm gonna fast forward because we're not
getting it's doing Jedi mind trick.
He have acknowledged that he ain't shit.
Okay, listen to this, guys.
I think we need to do a survey on that one.
Most dudes ain't turning down nothing but they collar, either, man. Cut it the fuck out, bruh. Cut it out, bruh. You know it because you know what? You've been on panels before. Most of y'all have been on panels before talking about men's low standards. So cut it out, bruh. You know damn well these dudes ain't turning down no box.
That's a fact.
So why is we but then why
it's free?
Then why are we always trying to hold, like? I don't understand. Like, yo, we have these conversations about women all day long.
Look. Check this out, bro. Fucking Patrice O'Neal said it best when he said, you ask a woman that's married, if she had the chance to be with some movie star guy and all of that, would you destroy your marriage for that? He said a good woman would be like, nah, I wouldn't do it. He said, but if you ask a guy, hey, would you destroy your marriage and mess up everything for that woman that's laying over there by the dumpster? He'd be like,
not a good man. A good man would say no. See, this idea, that's the point. This idea is that it's low-hanging fruit women and it's low-hanging fruit men. A man is low-hanging fruit if he's willing to put his dick inside of anything. Like this idea that a man don't have no control, and
I
he
didn't
just
say
goes
he had no control.
No, but that's what y'all painting. Y'all painting this picture that he can't turn the box down.
No,
that's
not
it's doing Jedi mind trick.
We
have acknowledged that he ain't shit.
Man, I didn't say they can't. You gotta listen to what I said, bro. I said they don't. There's a difference. There's a big difference. I didn't say they can't. I said they don't. Typically, dudes do not turn down box.
So if the men don't turn down box, then it's a men who have. Then we have to teach. By the way, he said about men teach their children responsibility and discipline. What are we teaching our sons then? What are we teaching our sons? We should be teaching them to have some discipline and to what? To be responsible, and that includes the choices that you make when you sleep with women. That's not to do the mother, that's to do the father. So really and truly, again, the blame falls on us once more again. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if we're talking about this gentleman doing what he did, if discipline and responsibility is taught by the father, what does father teach? Because clearly this is lack of discipline and a lack of responsibility.
Okay,
you have to have a discipline.
Unless he's a disciplined dude, or he has some sort of belief system that goes against that. You feel what I'm saying? Like you say you turn it down, but you're a married guy.
Exactly.
You feel what I'm saying? You want to break your vows or for whatever reason that you have. But the average dude out here is just out here, especially if he been in a drought for a minute. You feel what I'm saying? Some chick show him some attention.
There has to be a very strong moral conviction about something that's outside of himself in order for him to be that disciplined.
And a lot of y'all ain't disciplined.
Which is what we're teaching them. Which is what men
a
are
lot of
supposed
them
to
are
do.
not disciplined. You're right. You're a lot of.
Wait, Dark. What'd you say? Men are who's supposed to teach them discipline?
That's what men are meant to teach your boys. You're meant to teach them discipline. So I don't understand how we're running away. That's why I said I can't run away from our accountability. We can hold these women accountable, but y'all are proving the point. If these listen, you said there were 54 women that were getting pregnant. Let's deep this. 54 women were getting pregnant by 3 men. Is it easier to change 54 people or 3 people?
It's easier to change 54 children.
Let me
grab
my water.
Through the Q&A show.
Dark Arts.
So what had happened is that the guys were starting to say that there are, there was like two guys that impregnated 72 women, or 3 guys that impregnated 54 women. They were saying that there's things like this, right? They were saying, there's only a few guys impregnating so many women. I said, you know what? Fantastic. Thank you for saying that. Now, men are meant to be the ones who discipline and do the responsibility when it comes to relationships. But how do I change 54 women versus the 3 men that are out there? See, what you're really saying is that it's easier to change the 54 women over the 3, or over it's easier to change the 72 women over the 2 men who are doing this stuff. So you can't change 2 people, but you believe you can change 72 women's minds by holding them accountable. That's the part that don't make sense for me. And I dropped the mic and I said, I'm out. Let me leave it there. Okay, let me leave it there. Boom. Right? None of them can argue. And this is the first time Angry Man has been silent because he ain't said nothing. This is the time that he couldn't say nothing. How do you change 54 women versus the 3 that we have? Which one is easier? The reality is, what you're really saying is, we don't have no power over other men. We have power over women. So we can say something to women. The reality is you do have power with other men. The way that we're able to institute this is first and foremost focusing on the family unit, making sure that you are emotional as well as being financial, that you're mentally there for your children as well as being financial, that you are spiritually there for your children as well as being financial, that you make sure you protect, provide, and serve your family, your immediate family. When you do that, that's the first start, right? And when you have a community of people, when we are socialistic human beings. So yes, it can be very difficult to hold someone accountable who's a fully grown adult, right? But the reality is, if we start shunning this behavior, If we start, we also they also about, oh, we need to bring back shame for the ladies. Bring back shame for the men. I'm tired of y'all. We got shame for the women. Yeah, shame the women, but shame the men too. Am I sleeping by myself? I'm sleeping with women. Yeah, because the reality is that you saying about shame for the women, but you don't want to shame the man makes no sense. Oh, we can't shame him because you can't hold him accountable. He doesn't care. Well, then stop talking to me about women because women don't care either. So what makes you think you can hold women accountable? What makes you think you can hold women accountable? You know what I mean? So until we start building good communities of men up and start building our herd, so see what was going to happen is this. It's a slow turning around. The turning the Titanic around is very slow. It's not a straightforward job. But the reality is how we have to start it is start first with ourselves, start with our home, and start with our immediate family, right? Then I link up with other people who have the same mindset as me, and we form a community or village. And what happens is as we start doing that, other men see that we're doing well and also want to participate. Now, will every man want that? No. But once you start building the herd mentality that we operate by a certain culture, just the same way they've built their own men, just that they've built their community here on this place with the Peace Network or Manosphere. Once you build that space, men want to come into the space. They want to learn. They want to get with the program. And what do? Men submit to other men. You see, if you realize the whole time we've been talking, who are the people that have been talking? Myself, Angry Man, and Ruckus. Yeah? Ruckus, the guy with the hat. Those are the main people that have been talking, The rest of them have been kind of silent. Do you know what that tells me? It tells me this. Myself, Angry Man, Ruckus have the most influence in that group. If I don't say anything, the men will listen to whoever has the most influence in that group. If nothing gets said, they follow whoever has the loudest voice. So if I'm hearing someone be loud like Angry Man, I will have to challenge him so that other men know there is something else going on. There is something else there's another way to go about things. Because men are easily turned into followers. It's easy because men like to see men in leadership positions and they like to follow into hierarchy. Now, of course, those men who believe they can do more will challenge hierarchy, of course. But majority of men rather be in a position where they're also following too. That's why God never asks men to submit, because it's easy for the men to submit. When men get around other men, we formulate our groups very easily, right? It's very simple. We get into line and we follow suit. Boom, boom, boom. Whoever's got the most assertiveness, who's got a plan, we follow the plan. Boom. But it also means that when people are on efferees and people are doing some dumbass stuff, it means that those who don't speak about it also cause the other men to just follow suit. That's why the men on the rest of the panel haven't said nothing. Barely. I mean, they have said one or two things, but they barely have said anything. Right? So I noticed that. I said, okay, I'm talking. Angry Man's talking. Ruckus is talking. And that where the top, you can see the top three here beside Island Girl. Us top three there are the ones that are majority having conversation. Now, 187 gets involved a little bit here and there. The guy in the corner, Quentin, the left gets involved a little bit. ETH came for a little bit and spoke a little bit. The guy in the corner there on the right-hand side, he spoke for a little bit. But the reality is the people that were speaking the most, those are the people that are going to cause change. Now, I'm fighting a whole entire tide when it comes to Angry Man because he's got a whole people that believe what he's saying, but that can't stop me. That can't perturb me. That can't disturb me enough to say I can't keep trying. Because even if you get one or two, I'm happy. You know what I mean? It's a slow tide, but it's turning. It's a slow tide, but it's turning. So these men will follow people badly or goodly, depending on the leadership that's offered to them. Depending on the leadership that's offered to them. So at that point, when I said that to them, how are you trying to change 54 people versus 3? What can they say? At that point, what can they say?
I have a question. Before we go. So
wait, but hold on one second. Women don't listen to women, and women really don't listen to men. So is it easier for men to listen to men compared to women listening to men and women? Which is easier? Who's easier to change?
Somebody's easier for men to get it from men.
Who's easier to change?
Oh, my.
Notice nobody's come back to the point. Do you notice that nobody come back to the point? Because all the arguing we're doing, the reality is the reality. Okay? The reality is the reality. You can't change 54 people. It's not going to be, it's easy to change those 3 people around. So why try and keep women accountable? Why try and hold those people accountable? Yeah, true that. You know what I mean? Yeah, why try to keep holding them accountable?
Who's easier to change?
Oh, it's a man.
Change what?
It's easy. A man will change. Man.
Women don't like to be held accountable by women nor men, so they're not changing.
Men will change.
Men who run from accountability.
Let me tell you something. Okay, so what she just said there is a point, and there's another point that comes up. I need to find where it is, but like I've been telling you ladies and the guys as well, saying that as much as I want to change the other side, I've got to make sure first and foremost, I've got to change me first. So if I don't change me first, we're going to have a problem. So I have to make sure that first and foremost, and let me put it this way. If I get a strong quartet of men, right? If I get a strong quartet of men, yeah, men of high integrity, honorable, loving, caring men, yeah, and I put them on a panel and they talk some sense, I will get a whole bunch of women coming into that space. Whether they argue, whether they disagree, whether they agree, I'll get a bunch of women and come into that space. Now, here's the thing. Here's what I'm also learning as well. That me saying certain things can trigger the opposite side. And sometimes it can't be helped. But a lot of times, I can also understand where the trigger is coming from and then begin to negotiate in conversation with the person about how to have the conversation appropriately. So we had me and Jay Anderson yesterday had a live. We had a live and we spoke about submission, and there were some women who disagreed with our points. And I said this. I said this to when I said to you about not getting angry when people disagree, or when I feel like people just be moving nuts, not to get irate. Some of the women were disagreeing with the points, and we just calmly explained the points again and said, well, those who listen will listen. We can't fight you, so we'll just explain it calmly, and it is what it is. And what happened is, by the end of the conversation, some people did disagree, but they didn't leave there broken or hurt. Do you understand what I'm saying? So sometimes you have to understand that when a seed is planted, someone else has to water it. This is biblical, by the way. When we talk about even salvation, somebody plants, but somebody else waters, but somebody else then reaps. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, you may not be a product of my conversation today. You may not change today. You know what I mean? But I may plant the seed. And I want to plant it well. I don't want to plant it with anger. I don't want to plant it with force. I don't want to plant it with, false equivalence and stuff. I want to plant it with truth. And sometimes that truth has to be loving. So, okay, I may say, hey, you know what? I believe that submission is good for relationships. You may disagree, and I'll say to you, well, I believe that, as the Bible described it, let me expound on what submission looks like so you understand where it's coming from. I planted a seed. Now, by the end of the conversation, you may still disagree with me. You may still disagree with me, but when you finish, but maybe tomorrow, maybe 2 weeks' time, maybe in a year's time, it gonna click. It gonna hit you. It gonna come to you, because the truth is the truth. If it really is the truth, it's gonna hit you. Many of us have been kids before. We know exactly what it is when our parents told us, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And when people say don't do that, we've all gone and did that, and we found out we shouldn't do that. We've all been there, right? Now, no one could have told you any different. No one could have told you any different, because you're going to do what you're going to do. So I have to tell you so that it plants a good seed, but then I have to leave it, because maybe it's not me that's meant to reap the rewards from you. Let someone else potentially will, and it'll make sense later on. Trying to force it won't happen. So as a man, what I've got to do now, I've got to drag them. I've got to now go and collect the men that are willing to work with me to build a space where good quality men talk about healthy dialogues when it comes to relationships, so that women can also come into that space and see good, healthy men. So that I can repair some of the imagery of us as men. Do you see? And sometimes as men, we're going to disagree. We don't always agree, but the way we disagree is going to be so important about how we want to cultivate the culture. In my space, in this channel, the kind of cultivation I want to have is that people can disagree, people can agree, but we're not killing each other. That's what I'm saying. I want to be able to have a space where you can disagree with me, and I'll be like, all right, I don't agree with that. Here's why I don't disagree with that. And you can go, coach, I don't agree with that. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't agree with that. And we can go, all right, cool. We're going back and forth, and we go for it. So that both men and women can come into that space and they have the say to say what they want to feel, what they feel like. And it's not combative. It's not a fight. Right? So yeah, sometimes when I go to these places, I'll be a little bit rambunctious, a little bit rough with them a little bit. But I try to respect them as much as possible so that they also understand that I'm not just coming just to beat them up, but I'm coming to understand. They will call me simp, they will call me this, they'll call me that, they'll call me all those names. But the reality is when people start calling you names, it's because they can't compute what's actually happening. So when people start calling you names, they can't compute. So they start calling you names because that's the easiest way to kind of throw you off. But the reality is they can't compute. They can't. You see, that's why when me and Angry Man are going back and forth, whether we agree or disagree, he's disagreeing my point in his most intellectual way. He doesn't have to insult me, and vice versa. I don't have to insult him because he's trying to intellectualize what he's thinking, and that I can respect. You know, that I can actually respect from what he's saying. You know, there's a last point here I think that happened. I want to see if I can find it.
A lot. Some people. I mean, no, I can't say
no.
Some people.
Even if you're, you just heard
that type of lifestyle.
Couldn't pull out.
Where is it? I want to see if I can find it.
Is that people try to they look at.
I agree that.
Hey, bud.
Agree with that. Now that we know that, to the 7 women, why was you stupid enough to lay with them?
That's what I want to know. But he said he's going to bring his one of the baby mamas on, and that's
whatever reason. So hold on.
I agree that.
Hey, why are you asking her?
I want to get to a point. There's a point in this one. Sorry, I'm going to speed up, guys.
Okay.
So, he's the one that chose to be with this woman. He's the one that actually wanted to put on this woman, right? I'm pretty sure
they hold women accountable then if they're
that is now having to wear this jacket and hang it up in his closet.
Well, that's his problem, though. That's his problem for dealing with the woman that he has. He's the one that chose to be with this woman. He's the one that actually wanted to put on this woman, right? I'm pretty sure.
How is it not her? So how is it not her problem?
Listen, it's their problem. That's not our problem. Our problem is how we conduct ourselves and how we do things the way that we should be doing it. If you want to,
that's how you have control of, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the only thing you have control of is yourself and the people that you have influence over. That's it. That's it. You have to be responsible for the decisions that you make, and that's it. And at times, you have to stay in people's business because sometimes when you mess with the wrong people and you get into people's business, this can come out and turn around and bite you in the ass. It's just the truth.
So then why are we trying to hold women accountable that we don't have no reach over? I don't get that. Why are we trying to hold women accountable that you don't have no reach over? If you can only be accountable for the people that you
why the fuck are you trying to hold men accountable that you don't have no motherfucking reach over, nigga?
No, because I don't agree that point. I don't agree that point, and that's why you're swearing right now because you're not intellectual. You missed my point.
But
the whole thing of what I said
emotional.
was
I'm sorry.
You missed my point. What I was saying was, according to what you said, Ruckus, right? You said that we can't be holding people accountable that are outside of our reach, in a sense, right? Outside of our remit, our immediate environment.
Yeah.
If we go by that premise, why are we trying to hold women accountable then if they're outside of your remit?
I'm not trying to hold nobody.
I'm not saying you personally. I'm just saying as a general consensus, like, why are we then trying to hold women accountable? Because I'm hearing if you're a simp if you don't hold women accountable. But I'm like, But according to your premise, they're outside of our remit. How can I hold them accountable? If I can't hold a guy accountable because it's outside of my remit, I can't hold that girl accountable. What's the point of the conversation? What's the conversation?
See,
this conversation is reserved for family.
I didn't think I didn't think I had to say all this. When I speak out against obviously this dude, and when I speak out against these 7 women, I'm talking to the audience. Do you see these dumb hoes that made these dumbass decisions? Avoid niggas like this. And fellas, if you don't want any part of being a father, being financially responsible, you better let that woman know up front. So that way she has all the options to choose, since it's her body, her choice.
So that's the problem.
So this is the point I was like, yo, it didn't make sense, right? Because they're saying they can't hold this man accountable because he's outside of your reach. He's not your responsibility, so you can't hold him accountable. And I'm like, so then why are we holding women accountable? The hypocrisy stinks. The reality is we can hold him accountable and we can hold her accountable, right? That's it. Simple as, you know, and that be it. We can hold people accountable because they do what they do, you know, and we can say, otherwise we're wasting our time. Why have this live in the first place? If we can't hold him accountable, we can't hold her accountable. Like we're trying to hold people accountable. We're trying to say that your behavior doesn't fit in with the society that we're in, doesn't fit in with the culture that we have right now. So both parties need to be held accountable. Both men and women need to be held accountable. Do you know what I'm saying? So the reality in the situation is that we need to be able to use logic and not let our personal prejudices go out on top, right? To not go out on top. And when you think of this in a more logical perspective, then we can start actually having a real conversation, because some of the stuff that are being spoken about, it's not logical because you're not following it all the way through what your point is. So both parties have to be accountable. Both the men and the women have to be accountable. Y'all created a child. Whether she decided to keep it or not, once you entered, you know that the power is going to be in her hands. You knew this prior to getting into the situation. This ain't new. You knew this prior getting into the situation that once you enter your seed into her, she's going to have the power to choose. At that point, you lost all your power. Don't trap yourself. And ladies too, at the same time, if you know that this guy's you don't know this guy from Adam. You don't know if he will save his kids. You don't know if he's going to be one that's going to be, he's going to be loving his kids. Then this ain't the guy to be sleeping with, especially not doing it raw. You know, again, I say as a Christian, we shouldn't be having sex, but if you're going to have sex, please practice safe sex. You know? Safe sex, you know, but like I said, you know, practice don't have sex is even better. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah, practice don't have sex at all is even better for you guys. Work for your husband and wives. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm gonna, you know, I think we've brought it to a good end there. Myself and Ruckus, actually, this gentleman here, I'll show you. The gentleman in the black cap, black hoodie, black cap at the very top. We and the guy down below is with a brown hat and a black top. We spoke after. Ruckus is actually a Christian, and we spoke. And I'm going to try and get him on. I'm going to get him on onto the men's panel on Sunday. So you know, we gain one. You know what I mean? So yeah, we gonna get these. We're gonna get these situations and get more men into the space as well. So yeah, Ruckus is a good guy, and we'll try and get one. I think Daryl Long as well. I said I'll speak to him and get him on Sundays as well. So yeah, so he's also a Christian. I was like, oh, you're a Christian? I'm a Christian. It's like, yeah, bang. You know what I mean? But yeah, we get into those spaces as well. Just want to address this as well. Listen, good girl gone rich. Unfortunately, people need views in order to continue creating content and become successful, but I learned more from videos with true substance, not this new age content. Good girl gone rich. I want you to understand something. Yeah, like I understand. I appreciate your feedback, first and foremost. There are times and seasons for everything underneath the sun, you know. So when I was doing marriage videos, that was a time and a season for the marriage videos I was doing at the point in time. Then since now I've changed my angle. Now I'm trying to get more men onto the channel. I'm trying to have more conversations within the Black community, and I'm trying to bring together black women and Black men together and have more conversations. And sometimes to bridge the gap, we have to talk about certain things that happen within our community. So I understand that you may have come for the marriage-minded videos, because I think you put earlier on you like the more marriage-minded videos. But before I did marriage-minded videos, I was doing Christian content only. So you might not even like that, because that's all I was doing beforehand. As I shift my content, people will come, people will go, and I totally understand it may be not necessarily what you want. But to say you don't get no substance from these videos, you have not been in this live. If you did, you would have got some substance from it. And I think it's unfortunate you're not getting no substance from it. Do you know what I mean? But if you actually paid attention and sat in these lives, you'd get some quality gems, because I'm always breaking stuff down in these lives, whether it's myself, whether it's talking about other people, whether it's psychology, it's always involved. So I would say that substance that you're getting, it might be a little bit different. You know what I mean? If you want marriage-minded videos, just say you want more marriage-minded videos. To say that this is clickbait, one thing is also incorrect, because it's not clickbait, because I was on the panel. And to say it's social media content, these are things that are happening in our community as well. So I like to talk about them. And I say community, predominantly, I'm talking about even it's African-American, but it's a Black community in general. So just so that you understand the space you're coming into, I do understand that you may have wanted a marriage-minded videos. If you want more marriage-minded videos, just let me know. You know what I mean? We'll try and bring some more marriage-minded videos as well, okay? But to say that the substance is only there, it's a falsity. We have a lot of different content we like to bring to this place. And I believe they do help people as well. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But listen, no, look, you know, it was a good 2.5 hours, and I appreciate you guys sticking with us. We'll see what happens. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. We'll see. Oh, okay. Is it David? Okay, David. Okay, I didn't know that, David. Okay, we'll definitely have to have David. We haven't seen you on Sunday, bro. You working it Sunday, David? I want to get you on the Sunday panels, bro. I want to get you on the Sunday panels, bro. Do you know what I mean? On the Sunday panels as well. Okay, yeah. Someone said bring back Marriage UK. Well, okay, we can work on that still. I'm gonna try and get them back on. I have been in contact with him still, so we're gonna try and get some more marriage stuff. Andre, you still coming at me with the Chris Rock thing? And Andre's still getting on me with the Chris Rock thing. I love that, man. Yeah, don't worry, Andre. We're gonna disagree. We're gonna disagree, you know, as well. But yeah, we're gonna get it. Hey, listen, audience, thank you so much. I will be back later on tonight. We got Married at First Sight. Talking about that as well. So make sure you guys tune into that. Love that, you know, as well. So okay, you like the marriage? Okay, you want to see Marriage UK? Okay, cool. No worries. Gone good girl, gone rich. We'll try and get them on back as well. Marriage UK was dope, absolutely. So we're gonna try and get them back as well. So what? Lifetime just acquired Married at First Sight UK. So are we airing on the same channel? Okay. I don't know how I feel about that. That means more drama. Okay. All right, cool. I'm going to bounce because I haven't watched Married at First Sight yet. I need to watch it. So, guys, I really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Much love and appreciation. Share this with somebody else. If you want the links, I think the last one here, the live, live, the video for the last live. There we go. I'll put it in the chat as well. I'll put it in the description box as well. So much appreciation, guys. Thank you so much. And we'll see you again very, very soon. Much love and appreciation. Oh, before I go, you know what? I can't leave you without leaving you a little something. We've been together for 2.5 hours. I got to leave you with something. Okay.
I'm leaving here with something. You know what I mean? I'm from around the way.